Hello and welcome to episode 158 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right, just a couple of regular dudes drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the story.
That's right, this is a Drunken Vorthos episode, everybody. Pow, kata, kata. Yeah, that's right. We are talking about Outlaws of Thunder Junction, the story. So we're not talking about cards today, really. We have a couple story spotlights to talk about, but for the most part, everything is just about the lore of Magic. So we just get to sit back, crack some beers, and talk about it. So, with that, Jeff, do you want to tell us about the beer we're drinking tonight?
Yes, so because of the, desert theme, southern United States, maybe even like northern Mexico, you could imagine,
Hmm.
I decided that we should do a jalapeno lime kettle sour. So this is made by a Sawdust City Brewing Co. They've been featured on the show before. Little lighter side to get us started at 3.5%. And I'm just really pumped because I think, you know me, spicy peppers and beer, they
Hmm.
just always go well together.
Yeah, totally. Like I'm so excited to try this. But Jeff, what I really wanted to say is, why are we drinking this beer? Normally, we drink different beers during Drunken Forthos, right? But
Yeah, I thought I explained the the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
theme, right?
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, if people are listeners to the show, they can obviously tell that I'm the one that picked this beer out, and I'm
Yeah.
forcing you to drink this. Is maybe there a reason why I'm forcing you to drink it tonight of all nights?
Yes, I guess there is. We were gonna do a different beer. We're actually gonna do a Hacker Shore. They have a third beer, and so the winner of the Silver Series. But it disappeared from my fridge, and that's all I could say about that because I don't know when or how that happened. It was
Uh,
it's been in my fridge for, well, actually I have no idea how long it's spent in my fridge, but you gave it to me months ago and it is no longer there. That's all I know.
so this is the punishment that we are drinking the jalapeno lime beer tonight, the kettle sour. This one's actually only 3.5%, so that's not so bad. Um, but of course,
Yeah.
we have a bunch of backup beers for us as well. I just wanted to rub your nose in it just a little bit.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Oh,
Thought I
but
was
it's
gonna get away with it.
oh, I saw you trying to squirm your way out of that one, but nope, nope, nope. All right. So let's actually, sorry, we should start. We should drink this beer. Let's crack it open. I almost
Yeah.
forgot, and you would have let me too.
Yep.
Uh,
I had half a mind to tell you that this one wasn't in my fridge either.
oh, I was expecting that one. I thought that
Yeah.
was going to happen in a couple months, but it's like, yeah, I just had to clear some stuff out of there. Oh, was that for the
Oh,
podcast?
shoot.
I
I
thought,
threw it out.
yeah, I don't know what happened. Um, jalapeno and lime. Uh,
Kettle sour. I do like the can art of the jalapeno like sunbathing and the sun is a
yeah,
lime.
it's funny.
Yeah, I dig that.
But as Jeff has said many times on the show, he does not like spicy peppers in his beer. He likes spicy peppers a lot. He likes beer a lot. Not together.
It's true. It's I've never had a good one, so maybe this is the first.
All right, we'll have to find out. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Mm. Ah, we have. um. Oh. Oh. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All
God.
right.
Okay, let's get started. Oh. I'm sorry. The beer is so exactly what I wanted it to be. It's exactly it.
See, I'm worried for you because I've seen you eat spicy noodles on stream,
All
and
right. Well, they're okay. Let's get past that. Let's just start talking about the
just blow
actual
right
story.
past it.
Let's
Go to
get
our
into this.
Discord if you want to see Zach eating attempting to eat spicy noodles while drafting.
Yeah, that was difficult. Anyway, let's get into the story of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. There are 6 chapters that are written by Akemi Don Bowman, and then we have 2 epilogue chapters that are written by a different artist. I believe Allison Lures.
Oh,
But we're
I
gonna,
didn't even realize it was different writers.
yeah. Um, but anyway, let's start off with episode 1, An Offer of Revenge.
Dun.
Dun, dun. So, Jeff, we get to start off in a really great situation. I love it when our stories start off this way. So, we start with Archie Dixon, who is just a guy who's hired by the Sterling Company to transport something from an Omen portal, an Omen path, over to somewhere else. Now, he doesn't exactly know what he's transporting, but he knows that it's probably very valuable because there's some Sterling guards with him. And yeah,
Yeah.
so basically, the Sterling Company runs a lot of Thunder Junction, and it is owned by Baron Bertram Greywater, also known
We
as
love
that
that guy.
fucking guy in that fucking stupid vampire noble card that I hate.
Friend of the podcast,
Yes.
Bertram Greywater.
So immediately, I hate this company and I hate everything about whatever's happening.
Yeah. I
Um,
was thinking of you as soon as that name was dropped in like the first paragraph of the
I'm like,
story.
fantastic.
Oh, good. He's an important character. I love it.
But our buddy Archie Dixon keeps checking his pocket watch because he hates when people are late. An hour goes by, and finally his whatever stuff arrives, and they're in like a covered wagon, I guess, crossing the desert. But they run into some trouble, Jeff. What do they run into?
They run into it, well, outlaws, surprise,
Hmm.
surprise, called Hellspurs, and they are led by a fucking scorpion dragon
Hmm.
named Akul. Some of you might know his card.
Yeah, he is black, black, red, red. He's very, very cool and very scary. So what he does is
Definitely.
he basically just has his hell spurs just make a ring of fire around the carriage and well fucking just kill everybody and burn the whole thing to the ground to try to find whatever they're transporting.
I
Uh
love how the guard gets out and is like, "I'll protect us," and starts shooting them. It's like band of outlaws that just lit a ring of fire around you, and there's a fucking scorpion dragon. Nah, I'm like it's probably not
no.
going to work, but it's a higher percentage chance to beg than to start firing your weapon at them.
Yeah, but I guess if you know what you're dealing with, it's like might as well go down guns blazing than be I don't know praying like I don't know begging for your life. I guess that's some toxic masculinity I don't understand. But anyway, I would beg for my life in this
Yeah,
situation.
I'd be like, "Can I join you?"
Yeah, please. Oh, I want to be one of the Hellspurs. That sounds cool. Anyway, Akul gets the treasure that he's looking for, opens it up, and it turns out to be a bag filled with coal. So it's not the stuff he's looking for at all. Of course, he's furious about this. He's looking for some sort of key, and this doesn't happen to be that key. And he just stabs our good friend Archie Dixon. I don't know somewhere, and he dies.
Yeah, stabs him good.
Stabs him real
Um,
good.
Couple of thoughts. First of all, you mentioned how you like when stories start off this way.
Hmm.
I like this too, but this felt like a movie intro to me, where it's
Mm,
like some person that you don't know at all, and it's they're they're gonna die, but they're introducing the plot through this character who's not really a character in the story.
yeah,
Um, I don't know, it just makes me think of movies, and then I feel like there's a lot of scenes throughout these writings that are very like feel like a scene from a movie. And
absolutely.
I thought that was so cool because they're hearkening to like this Western movie culture
Hmm.
in the set. And so to make the story kind of written like a screenplay or like it was a movie, I thought was a nice touch.
I thought that was great. I 100% agree. Doing the immediately we get to meet the bad guy and he kills somebody or a bunch of people right off the bat in a brutal way. And you're like,
Yeah.
oof, I don't want to stick around that guy. I hope he doesn't turn up anytime soon. Of course, we know he's going to turn up at some point.
Yeah, like it vaguely reminded me of I don't know how Harry Potter always finds its way into these things, but there's the fourth movie where the like
Hmm.
caretaker walks in on
Oh, sure. Yeah,
the
yeah.
bad guys and they kill him. It was like kind of like that, where it's not an important character, but it's revealing the bad guys to you through this character who obviously just immediately gets
Yeah.
killed.
Also, really important because in Harry Potter, that's the first time we don't spend time at the Dursleys at the beginning of the book, and
Right.
that was super important to
Yeah.
me. Oh my god, oh, we don't have to be with them for 3 chapters, and they
No
fucking sunk.
Dursleys.
Ugh,
Yeah.
fantastic! This is amazing. Um,
The other thought I had was, say what you will about Bertram, but this is savage. They used him just as a total decoy. That is
oh
a
yeah,
heartless move.
yeah. So basically, Bertram was also transporting the key at the same time. Had two different ones. This was the diversion one, and obviously was using these people as just expendable. Which
Yeah, and the bag of coal is the giveaway there, right? Like he
yeah,
obviously wasn't transporting anything of value, and Bertram knew that. But he even sent guards. He sent guards to die to make it more believable that this was
the
the
real one.
real thing.
Yeah, pretty shady shit. Fuck that guy. I was like, fuck him. Anyway, we get to be introduced by our new character, Annie Flash. And she is riding her mount Fortune. So you might remember Fortune, the mount. It's the white creature that blinks your stuff. That's her actual horse. Really cool. That was nice to see. I didn't really realize that until actually reading the story.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't know that they were connected either.
mhm. So they're riding around the desert and they come across a carriage that has been burned down. And this is obviously the carriage we just saw. And immediately she knows exactly who did it. It's that scorpion dragon.
Yeah.
Cool. So it turns out this bad guy is known by lots of people, which would make sense because he seems like a really awful person. Dragon, scorpion. She ends up going and looting all the bodies from this from this crime scene.
Yeah, this is a classic. Like if you ever played some, RPGs, PC RPGs, it's just what you do. Dead
Hmm.
bodies, you loot them. That's
Yeah.
she's clearly played her fair share of Baldur's Gate.
Hmm. She's going over like not necessarily like trying to make sure that they're okay, but she's really looking for loot to steal. And so this also tells us that she maybe isn't she's a good character, but like
Yeah,
she does some bad stuff. Like
yeah.
the thing that she's doing is she's stealing this big crate of cash essentially, and then she brings it to her hometown of Saddlebrush, which is where she meets this guy, Mr. Towning. What a towny name, huh? Mr. Towning.
Oh,
And he just seems like an old man, and yeah, I don't know. I guess she just splits all of her the things that she steals with him 50-50, which is kind of crazy because what the fuck does he do? Like she's
yeah. My understanding was like he probably provided her, like got her into the town in the first place or something, and he gives her food and stuff. But it's like I totally understand why he takes 50 freaking percent. And they sort of mention a deal, renegotiating terms, but it
yeah.
is never made clear what Mr. Towning brings to the table
Yeah, I
in
guess
that deal.
he just like disperses the money correctly around the town. It's kind
He
of a
just
small
like
town.
doesn't tell people that she's there.
I guess so. He also gives her an apple for her horse Fortune. So
Yeah.
like thanks, Mr. Towning. I don't know. He is kind of a nice old character that we're like, oh, he's sweet and we hope nothing bad happens to him. And Annie's good because Annie stole this stuff, but those people were dead anyway, so they're not going to be using money. And
Yeah.
she's helping out this town.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
necessarily bad. It's not super classy what she did, let's say.
yeah, well, it just shows us that she has a past of like that's not. She didn't have to think about it. It's just like
Right.
I'm gonna
That
do
wasn't
this.
weird to her.
Yeah,
It's like
to her at all.
actually she was going towards that because she spotted the
The fire.
fire and was like, I could probably loot some stuff.
Take some stuff there, and that'll
Yeah.
help me pay for whatever I need to pay for, and blah 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 blah. I guess she's also help like. Okay, to be fair, she is helping the town like run because no one else is being able to bring in any money besides her. So
Hmm.
like she's doing what she has to do to survive in the West and help this town of Saddlebrush survive, which is her hometown. So okay, sure. Um, kind of Robin
Fine,
Hood.
Annie, you're good.
Yeah, yeah, Robin Hoodie type of stuff.
Very Robin Hood. But yeah.
We head back to her house where we see like a blonde man standing there, and she immediately sees through this facade. And it's
Mhm.
not a blonde man at all. Jeff, who is it?
It is a renowned thief of
Hmm.
crowns. goes by the name of Oko.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Oko basically says, like, she's like, "What are you doing, and why do you have this weird illusion?" I forget exactly how she references that she could see right through his illusion. And he basically says, "That's why I need you on my team. Come work for me."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, of course I will not do that. My days of being an outlaw are behind me." And
Mhm.
he goes, "I hear you were once the sharpest shooter in the West." Um,
Annie Flash, they called you. Oh, don't call me that name.
yeah.
My name's Annie now. Annie
And
and
then he was like,
Fortune.
"Is it? But do you still have Flash or no? Because
Mhm.
that's going to be really important."
Because I need you to have. If you don't have Flash, you're not nearly as good, and you won't fit in
Yeah,
my
like
standard
you're
deck.
actually like pretty whack. But
But anyway, so the conversation doesn't go extremely well. Basically, Oko's saying like, "Hey, if you're trying to, I know you used to run with a Cool and his Hellspurs. So now we know that Annie we know that Annie knows a Cool. Now we know that
Mhm.
Annie used to work with a Cool in some way,
Yeah,
and Annie also reveals to us that her nephew got badly injured. Something happened to her nephew.
right.
Um,
And
and
she's
she'll
not a huge fan of the cool.
Yeah,
So
and so Oko's like, well, hey, I was able to find you. A Cool could also find you, and what will happen when he finds you? What will happen to this town? Think
mhm.
about it. Come work for me, and maybe that won't happen. And Annie takes this as a threat, as that's because it sounds like a threat. What a fucking thing to say.
I mean, if you know Oko, it was a threat.
Yeah, but
It
he
was
will
like, I can
definitely,
make sure a cool knows where you are.
and he will. He's really good at what is it? Gaslighting you later into thinking that that's not what he was doing.
Hmm.
But we all know that's what he was doing. He's like super gaslight man. Anyway, that's
That's
his.
basically his personality.
It
Yeah.
is. But ultimately, he was saying, "Hey, I know you want revenge on a Cool because of your nephew. Come work for me, and we can do that for you."
Right.
And she just,
I think he said, I'm planning on stealing from a cool or something like
yeah,
that.
something
Like,
like that. She basically says, "Fuck you," and then
yeah.
that's done. Now we're going to cut over to another character that we are very familiar with, but haven't seen in this plane yet. So we are cutting over to Kellen.
Kellen's in this story?
Yeah, Kellen's in all the stories from
Oh.
this last year. Crazy. It's like there's a whole arc or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so feels that way.
Anyway, so Kellen most recently was on Ravnica figuring out the murders at Karlov Manor. Now he's in Thunder Junction, the desert plain. I guess we didn't explain where we are. We're in a desert. we're in a plain. If you're not familiar with Thunder Junction, it is
Yeah.
cowboys and outlaws, cactus and uh, dusty wind. Um,
It's kind of all just outlaws, but
Basically.
yeah.
There seems to be in the story a difference between outlaws and mercenaries, but in the game, they're exactly the same thing.
Right, a mercenary
So,
is literally an outlaw in the game.
yeah. But in the story, they seem to be two separate entities. So, kind of confused about that, but it's all good. Um, anyway, Kellen is working on these omen ports and working on the omen paths. So basically, it seems like there's these big, I don't know, electric tower things that help control the omen paths, and they can kind of keep them open longer than they're supposed to, or something. Essentially, what they're trying to do is like make a system where you can move goods and services across planes and have
Yeah.
control over them. Because omen paths just kind of like open and close randomly and go to different places.
Yeah.
And now in Thunder Junction, they're trying to control them.
Yeah.
And
And it's not like planeswalking where you jump into the portal and you pop
mhm,
out wherever you want. It's like
mhm,
this portal will open up and it goes somewhere specific.
yeah,
And so it can get pretty complicated. It's like you had a big, all the highways just blink in and out of existence randomly and start
mhm,
connecting different cities. Like,
yeah. And so like you sometimes the like I don't know, the on ramp to the highway's there, and sometimes it's not. Or like
yeah.
you can't get to where you want to go because it just isn't there right now. They're trying to control that. Ral Zarek is also in charge of it, and he's here in Thunder Junction as well. Um, he is being basically Niv Mizzet wants to make Ravnica the Grand Central Station of the entire multiverse,
Hmm.
and Thunder Junction seems to have a lot of Omen ports or Omen. They call it the town of Omen Port, but there are a bunch of
Right.
Omen paths. That's why I'm getting kind of confused with it. But
Yeah.
um, anyway, Ralzerg is there to help Niv Mizzet's plan, essentially.
Yeah. I
And
guess Omenport is like a port, sort of
yeah,
docking station for the Omen paths that
I
are
guess it's
opening up in
yeah.
that
Omen
area.
Port is like a place where they have multiple Omen paths. There we go.
Yeah, and so that's where, all the shipping containers and stuff would be because they're trying to like move those through all the different Omen paths.
All the different stuff that they can sell. A
Yeah.
cactus juice. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Maybe some jalapeno beer.
Yeah.
I bet they're overstocked on that one.
Yeah, maybe. That's why they're trying to just like give it to a different universe.
Yeah, like, hey guys, try this. It's
It's
good, I swear.
really cool. It's imported, so it's better.
Yeah.
Um anyway, through all of this, there happens to be some situation where like Ral's eye gets caught, or sorry, Kellen catches Ral's eye because a worker's falling down from a giant tower, and Kellen can fly now. He flies ever since Ravnica.
Hmm.
So he, of course, saves this man from falling to his doom. And then Ral's talking to Kellen's boss, kind of being like, hey, that guy could be really useful. Can
I would
I
like him to save me if I'm
Mhm.
falling.
Yeah, I want him to come with me as my bodyguard and take him away from this place, which is fantastic because we know Kellen has been looking for his father this whole time.
Yeah.
Through all the different stories, we started on Eldraine, we moved to Ixalan, went to Ravnica, and now we're in Thunder Junction. We also know that Kellen's father is none other than Oko.
Hmm.
So he says, "Yeah, absolutely, Ralph. That sounds great. You're going to Prosperity, right? Prosperity
Yep.
City, Prosperity Town, whatever. The town of Prosperity, something like that.
City? Yeah.
City. It sounds more like a city. Anyway,
Right.
it's the wealthiest place in Thunder Junction, and
Area.
yeah, and he Kellen believes that he can find Oko there, and that will be a great spot for him to meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those of you who've played the cards, Prosperity, you might notice it at the top of all of those newspaper cards that were
Mm-hmm.
special release in this set. I forget what it's called, the Prosperity
Post.
Post. Got to have that alliteration, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Prosperity Post is the newspaper those cards are from.
Yeah, the breaking news from Prosperity Post.
Mhm.
Terminal agony. Anyway, that is the first chapter. I thought that was a really nice, clean chapter. I have to say,
Yeah, solid introduction.
mhm, we met all our characters, kind of.
Yeah,
Uh, the main ones. Great job.
loved
Fantastic.
the opening, loved the like classic trope of the sharpshooter who's out of the game, but they need
Hmm.
them for one last heist and love it.
Love
And
it.
I mean, let's just dive deeper and find out if Annie decides to go for it.
Yeah, well, we're getting into it with episode 2, The Jailbreak.
Ooh.
Spoiler alert, we do start with Annie. She wakes up in a sweat. Realizes that if Oko could find her so easily, Akul can as well, even without Oko telling him where Saddlebrush is.
Yeah.
And so she says, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to go do this thing, finish this job once and for all, get my revenge, and be done with looking over my shoulder and worrying about Akul coming to get me.
Yeah, and this is why Oko is such a good trickster, because the things he says have truth to them.
Hmm.
Of like, hey, it was pretty easy to find you to TBH. So like Akul has a lot more resources on this
Hmm.
in this plane than I do. So if I can find you, then Tokenie.
Yeah, pretty
And
easily, too.
yeah. And then
Which,
she's like, damn it, he's right.
mhm. You know what? Honestly, I have to say, throughout the story, Oko is a son of a bitch, but you know what? I think they do a really good job of writing him, and all of his stuff
Yeah.
seems to be pretty good. So I'm like, nice job. Uh,
Yeah, Oko's
this
well
is
done.
this is part of the beginning of his good manipulations. Um, though Annie's going to do something really badass. I love this thing. So she goes out, takes a few paces into the desert, looks down, starts digging to pull out her thunder rifle, which she has buried there
Yeah.
years ago, which gives us our story spotlight number one. Jeff, what is it?
This card is One Last Job. It's 2 and a white for a sorcery with spree, +2 to return a creature from graveyard to battlefield, +1 return a mouse or vehicle from graveyard to the battlefield, and +1 to return an aura or equipment from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to a creature you control. And it's Annie with her thunder rifle that she
Mm-hmm.
just recovered from its hiding spot.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking up to see if there is a Thunder Rifle card, which we do not
Mm.
have. I was just wondering if there's like a Commander product or something where they added it. Instead, we have Thunder Lasso, which is not the same, but
Yeah. Or it could be one of those like bulk commons that I is at the end of the pack and I literally never noticed. But
a Gold Pan.
yeah, exactly. It's like I
Oh,
forgot
this
about
is.
Gold Pan until you just said that right now. So I've drafted this set a lot, never
Mhm.
put Gold Pan in my deck.
Ooh,
So
I used to. Don't anymore, but I used to. Um, anyway, Annie now with her thunder rifle whistles to get her fortune back, her horse. This is
yeah,
straight like, I mean,
not really a horse, right? It's like some beast kind of thing.
is it? Let me
But
look it up. I think,
just looking at the card art, it definitely doesn't look like a horse.
okay, it is a beast mount. It has horns. I guess you're right. It's not really a horse, but it's bigger than a horse. But it's basically her horse. It's a loyal steed.
Yeah, I mean, in the cowboy themed set, it's supposed to be the horse, but the trusty
Totally.
steed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, she's able to whistle to get Fortune to come over to her. Badass move. Right after doing something badass. This is also the middle of the night, by the way. Um,
Yeah, because she woke up in a sweat.
yeah. She decides, yes, I'm going to go to the saloon. Also, we forgot to mention when Oko was talking to her earlier, he was like, hey, if you do want to meet up, here's my card, and gives
Yeah, of
her
course.
a
Yeah.
business card that was to the saloon in Rustwood. Solid name. Saddlebrush, Rustwood. I like it.
hmm
All these pretty good.
Yeah. So far, the only name miss is Mr. Towning, but
Yeah, Mr. Towning's really that's not we got to work on that one.
yeah.
Sterling Company, that's pretty cool, but Towning, Mr. Towning, really
Just
just
imagining the like they're in a room like what's the name of the old guy in the town that takes care of her? It's like Mr. Town.
yeah, Ning.
Ding.
It's like they kind of rolled the dice and it was like, what should
Yeah.
his name be? Towning. Perfect, done.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's not spend too much time thinking about this one
yeah,
because
nobody cares except for these fucking
he's
drunk
gonna take
idiots.
some money and chuck her an apple. We don't really need to name. You don't even need to name him, to be honest.
Yeah,
But we
he
we
could just
chose to.
be a guy.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, Annie does make it to the saloon, but it's like early in the morning, like the sun just rose. So it was surprising to me that everyone in the saloon was awake and
Yeah.
also like very active. Um,
Yeah. They weren't just awake. They were like running around and
yeah,
playing the piano
yeah,
and
and
like
like it was like it kind of seemed like I had to go back and read it to be like, did she like ride so long that now it's like sunset, basically? That's what I was
right.
thinking. And it is not, in fact. Nope, it's still really early. She walks into the saloon, and Oko immediately offers her a drink, probably like a Caesar or a Bloody Mary or something, right?
Yeah.
Mimosas.
Classic 5 a.m.
Yeah,
4
yeah,
a.m. Breakfast drink.
yeah. Much better than just like some warm whiskey. Hey, do you want to drink this? The sun just came up. It's 6:30.
Yeah. We're all hammered, so
Yeah, yeah. Join the party. You're part of the team now. Uh, but that does mean it is time to meet the team. Jeff, can you help me with this? There are so many fucking characters.
all right. I think the first one we see is Tiny Bones.
Yes.
And Tiny Bones is running around. He stole something from Breaches, and Breaches is like getting pissed off. It's a recurring theme. Breaches is easy to rile up, and Tiny Bones likes riling people up.
Hmm.
And then to kind of close out that little group, we also have Malcolm. So Breaches and Malcolm, they're from uh the Lost Caverns of Ixalan story,
Hmm.
where they were pirates. And
Hmm.
Tiny Bones, I don't know if he was actually a part of any story before this, but
No.
he was a card that was from Jumpstart that a lot of people liked, so they brought the character back.
Yeah. He's a cute little skeleton boy. He's really small, so I consider him like a
Yeah, he's a
skeleton
tiny,
child,
well, yes, Tiny
I guess.
Bones. Yeah.
And then Breaches is like a goblin that is
Hmm.
good with explosives. And Malcolm is like a siren who
Yeah.
can fly, which is really important because he sees things well. We move into the next room and we meet Geralf and Gisa. So those are brother and sister from Innistrad. They are usually mortal enemies. Um, where Geralf is like a stitcher, so he's sewing zombies together to make new contraptions, and Geese is just raising as many zombies as possible and
Yeah,
well, wreaking havoc. And she has like a Harlequin kind of vibe to her, where she just
definitely.
laughs and
Yeah.
loves chaos and stuff. And
Hmm.
Geralf is more of a kind of pushes his glasses up on his face and is frustrated with his silly sister. He's supposed to be the medic. Okay. Uh,
He's a Stitcher.
I guess, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Could have found, I guess, like he's an outlaw stitcher. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
As you can't get like a real
Yeah,
healer.
you're not gonna
I
get
think
like a legit surgeon.
that's true. That's true. Um, Ariette is also in this room from Wilds of Eldraine. She's the charmer.
Just playing the piano at the
Hmm.
moment.
Yeah, not might as well. Vraska is our second in command, and then outside is Rakdos, the giant demon from Ravnica.
Yes.
Um, he doesn't fit in the room, and they don't care.
Yeah. They're like yelling out to Rakdos, like, you hear that, Rakdos?
Yeah. And also, if you don't remember, the last time we saw Vraska, Vraska is a Gorgon planeswalker, and so she has a bunch of snakes on her head and stuff. Um, she was completed. She was
Mhm.
evil and like tentacly and stabs Jace with her things, and now she is totally fine, seemingly, and nothing has happened. And it's kind of like the Phyrexian invasion didn't happen.
Odd, isn't it?
A little odd. I wonder if they're
Uh,
going to explain that. Huh.
yeah. I love that a part of me was like, they maybe just forgot that that they had
It
completed her.
definitely felt
Like,
like they just completely forgot because she's talking like no one is referencing anything about it. Nothing's
yeah,
talking to her like she had anything wrong with her. She's just there now. Okay,
yeah.
fine.
Just like desparked Vraska, just in the same way that, Nissa was desparked after the
Or
war and all
something.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, Jeff, there's one other person in the
Hmm.
room who's kind of
Yes.
a surprise.
Yes, a certain Weaver of Nightmares is
Hmm.
present, and that
Yeah.
is, of course, Ashiok. And, and they kind of reveal that they hired Oko to assemble this dream team.
Hmm.
Um, or Oko says that or something. Anyways, it's revealed that Ashiok is kind of the head boss of
Hmm.
this endeavor.
And paying everyone too.
Yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
so Annie is kind of like, all right, well, what's the deal? And they reveal that their plan is to steal a key from, let me make sure I get this right, uh, the Fomori vault called Mag Taranau.
Hmm.
And Annie's kind of like, is this a joke? Because that's kind of an old fairy tale in Thunder Junction that, like, parents tell their kids, but everybody knows it's not a real place.
Hmm.
So what do you mean we're gonna rob? It's like if someone said our heist is in Neverland, we're
Yeah.
gonna rob Captain Hook.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, we're gonna go get the Fountain of Youth, essentially.
Yeah,
It's like that kind of thing that's just like, sure, yeah, let's find the Holy
yeah,
Grail. Like, it's not
yeah. I mean,
really, is this what we're doing?
okay.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
sure. But ultimately, Annie's like, whatever, if you really think so, like, I don't really care about that part. I care about the fucking up a cool thing. Like, that's
Right.
what I want to do. So I'm still on board if it involves that. And the
Yeah.
rest, the vault stuff, I don't give a shit about. Um, so they figure out that they are missing a couple members of their team, and they have to go break them out of jail because they didn't have enough members of their team already.
That's right.
Before we go to the other team, can I just remind you that we have Breeches, Malcolm, Tiny Bones, Geralf, Gisa, Ariette, Vraska, Rakdos, Oko, as well as Annie, and then Ashiok. So we already have 11 people.
That's insane.
That is so many people, and it's so many more people than I thought we were going to have based on the cards. Because the cards that we get basically show Oko, Tiny Bones, Rakdos, Vraska, and Kellen. There's 5 people in the group. That's over twice as many.
You mean the cards that like show them all together or whatever?
Well, they have all the ones that show them together. It has all the cards that say this person joins up. Are
Oh, the
only those
joins up
characters.
cards.
We
Yeah,
have like
yeah.
Rakdos,
Forgot
Tiny
about
Bones,
those.
like they have specific ones that talk about this story, and we don't have Ariette joins up, Geralf joins up. We don't have those. We don't have Breeches joins up. It's just like I was just surprised to realize that there were so many. It went from small ragtag group of like we're gonna scruff it out and do it in the Wild West to full scale Ocean's 11. Way too many characters. Everyone has one specific job and only gets like one shot of them doing it, kind
But
of
see,
thing.
I was wondering if it was a reference to Ocean's 11 because there are 11 of them,
Hmm.
and then they're like, oh, and there's 2 more, so it's like there's 13. But
Sure. I mean, like,
it
yeah,
might
that
it might be a bit of a stretch. But I was like, wonder if it's a coincidence that there's exactly 11.
probably not. I don't think that there's a coincidence, but I do think that it was kind of like hey, here's a bunch of characters, like Ariette. Here's a bunch of characters. Pick whichever ones you want. You can just have whichever ones. And
And
they just
some of them have analogs, right, to Ocean's 11. Like Tiny Bones is the Chinese gymnast who like
it's
hides
true.
in the briefcase and gets out of it in the vault or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so
I mean, Oko
they're
is
like,
Danny. I don't know.
or
He's
is Ashiok Danny and
yeah,
Oko is Brad Pitt?
or he almost feels more like Matt Damon because Matt Damon is better at like going around people and like I guess he kind of steals things from people, but um he's good at manipulating
Yeah.
folks and like talking in a certain way.
Doesn't Matt Damon always play the fake? He's always like pretending to be the inspector or pretending to be someone he's not.
Exactly. And that's what
So
Oko's doing
that's
the
what
whole
Oko
time. Yeah.
does. Yeah.
He always he's like an illusion of something else.
Yeah.
Anyway, and there's like the 2 guys who are fighting over something, so it's like kind of Malcolm, sorry, Breeches and Malcolm are like best friends, and they're like, I guess they're not fighting with each other.
But
They
there in
really
Ocean's
needed
11 there are the 2 brothers that like are really,
close,
one of them's into tech and one of them's into
right? One
something
of
else.
them
They like,
isn't. Yeah, one of them. It's Ben Affleck's brother or whatever, and they're sorry in real life, right? It's one of the Affleck
yeah,
brothers
I
is the
forget a
actor.
little. Right. Yes, yeah. And then there's the nerdy like tech guy. Maybe they're not actually brothers in the show. I thought they were, but they always arguing over
I
stuff.
mean, they
So it's
could
like
be.
the Gisa and Geralt
Giraffe kind of. Oh, that's true. That's
yeah,
true. That would make sense.
that
Anyway, yeah, they
vibe.
definitely have the vibes of Ocean. I was thinking it was more of a Wild Westy thing, and this is where it turns into Ocean's 11.
Right.
Um,
This is
as
where it
we're
becomes the heist movie.
pulling it all together. So we have 2 more people we have to break out of prison, and the jail that they are in is, of course, with Baron Bertram Greywater, son of a bitch,
Woohoo!
garbage card. Um, anyway, so they have to go steal them back from the Sterling Company, which is, I believe, in Prosperity. I think they go all the way to Prosperity, right? Um,
That I mean, that's where it would have to be. Yeah.
exactly. So we go to Prosperity, and we have a plan to break out the folks in the jail. But the plan gets unfolded as it happens. Essentially, we don't have to talk about it before it happens. It just is happening,
Right.
which is always a good way to do this.
Yeah.
Talking about the plan and then watching the plan unfold, not interesting.
Yeah.
Learning about the plan as the plan's unfolding, very interesting. Good job.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just
Uh
really worried when we were getting into a lot of this stuff. I was like, oh no, are we gonna have to like
yeah, are we
do
gonna
this
do this?
twice?
Yeah. Like the interesting part is how the plan goes wrong. And it's like,
It's like
no,
that's not really that interesting. It's
yeah,
interesting when we learn what they have to do right before and then it doesn't work at all, but that's fine.
right,
I just don't want to spend a bunch of time going over and over and over the plan.
right.
Um,
It's like the meetings about meetings thing, you know.
oh
So
God.
I don't need to witness that in film.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
that
have
I
to.
get enough of that in real life. I don't need
Yeah,
it in my cinema.
yeah. Anyway, so what Oko is able to do is he's able to trick the guards in this prison space. I guess it's not. He's not in the prison yet. He is. He's at like Greywater's office, and what he does is he's delivering a package for Bertram Greywater, and he is in an illusion because Oko is a Fae, and Fae are really good at making illusions. So he looks like he's one of, I guess, some delivery guy or like another guard. And so he's saying, "Hey, I just need to give this to Bertram Greywater. It was supposed to come earlier, but blah blah blah. Somebody screwed it up." So he gives the package to the security guard. That guy brings it to Bertram Greywater's office and puts it in his office. Closes the door, locks the door, leaves. And Oko was just following behind. Is able to look inside, and what happens is little the package pops open and turns out to be tiny bones in it the whole time. Nice.
Very
Or
well executed.
mhm,
Tiny Bones gets out of the box. He doesn't have to do the whole backflip from the thing, so he never
mhm.
touches the floor. He just gets to walk over and unlock the door. Um, and then Oko walks right on in.
Yeah. I will say Tiny Bones again and again and again in the story will prove to be one of the most valuable members of the team,
Oh, by far. Yeah.
and will often show that he should have just been. There's some other characters, and I just think Tiny Bones could have done that. We didn't need this whole character. Tiny Bones could have done
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
So they are now in Bertram Greywater's office looking for the key that they're trying to find. We are now going to cut over to the actual jailbreak. So, Jeff, we are with Annie and Ariette over in the jail cell area. And what do they do? How do we get into the it's not a vault, into the prison?
Basically, they have this, is potion the right word? They have this like
Yeah.
acid from breaches that just melts the grate. And breaches promised it wouldn't blow anything up. So
Hmm.
that was nice because breaches loves to blow things up. So I just like that kind of addition they threw in there where the characters feel the need to ask breaches if something he gives them is going to blow up because that's just who he is. He's the boom guy.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, they basically go around the back and they like dissolve the metal bars to some grate and they hop in and um Ariette casts like a charm spell, I guess,
Hmm.
on like some guards are like, hey, why did you just dissolve those bars and jump through the gate? But then they're like, I love you, Ariette.
Hmm.
And so she distracts them. And then this I thought was a little weak, but apparently the reason Oko needed any flash is that she could see through illusions. And this prison uses an illusion of the cell being empty in order to. I actually don't really know what additional defense this is meant to provide, other than like you would
For
have
this
to open all the
exact
doors. Like
point. Yeah, yeah.
if I was going to break someone out, I'd just open all the doors. Like once you know that that's what they're doing, do you really need someone who can see through the illusion, or do you just go open all the doors?
Yeah, I guess maybe if you don't like the thing, so basically what it is that there's an illusion that makes it look like all the jail cells are empty. So
Yeah.
nobody's in any of the cells. However, Annie can see through these things, so she's able to find the two last members. But yeah, if you were just trying to bust anyone out, you could open all the doors. I don't know if that wastes too much time or what, but you also don't have like we have magical people that help
Or
us
like
distract.
I didn't understand if the illusion also like muffled sound because I'd just be like, "Yo,
Yeah,
Umazawa, you here?"
yeah.
Like
So, spoiler alert, those are the last characters we're looking for. So, Satoru Umezawa and Karavek. are the last two members of the team.
The
They,
Punisher.
yeah, they also kind of hate each other.
Yes.
But they've also been like locked up for a while, and they kind of blame each other for getting locked up in the first place. They were doing some other thing that was some other, I don't know, Oko scheme, and for
Yeah.
whatever reason they got locked up.
And my understanding is that they were brought in both kind of for a similar but slightly different purpose, which is like essentially to unlock stuff, but Satoru unlocks mechanical things and
Hmm.
Karavek undoes magical
Yeah,
locks. So they would naturally hate each other as like kind of serving the same role. They play the same position, but have
hmm,
different strengths, and each believe their own strength is more valuable than the others.
yeah, and you could solve all of this by just using Tiny Bones because he opens all the doors anyway.
Yeah.
Because he can make any of his limbs into a skeleton key and he opens whatever. Where
Yeah.
Satoru uses like spiders and drones and stuff that do it for him. So it's just like a robot. So it's
Yeah.
like, why don't you just give me the fucking drone? Like you don't do anything. Satoru, he
Well,
I want to like him a lot, but I don't
the whole
know.
plan hinges on him being broken out.
Does it though? Karavek we kind of
Allegedly.
need, but or we're supposed to need. Anyway, it's a super old guy and gang leader essentially.
Mhm.
Is Satoru. I also think that Satoru Umezawa he has the same abilities as Toshiro Umezawa, which is he can move through shadows,
Mhm.
right?
I think
Because
so.
because right after he gets out of the jail, he just like disappears into the shadows and then pops up in the shadows over in Bertram's office,
Yeah.
um, which
Which
is
so he's already proving his worth because
oh that's
they
true,
need him.
right? I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, Jeff. Okay, so we break them out. We're kind of done with Annie and Ariette. That's all done. We are now over in Bertram Greywater's office. Satoru has just transported himself through the shadows, which is his special ninja ability, being from Kamigawa. And why is he so important in this specific situation?
So for two reasons. So they're in this room to steal the key.
Hmm.
They don't think Bertram just left the key under his pillow or on the floor. It's probably in a safe. So they need him to, one, crack that safe, and apparently, two, find that safe because they had no idea where it was. And he goes, it's got to be behind that big old weird painting, right? And they're like, the big old weird painting. Yes, 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 yes. So they move the big old weird painting, and sure enough, there's a hole in the wall with a safe in it. And then Satoru uses his weird mechanical spider thing, but essentially like he's it's the classic like he has his stethoscope on the thing and
Yeah,
he's
I guess that's true.
yeah,
Tiny Bones can't open safes.
can't
You're
do
right.
that part.
Okay.
Can't do that part. They could just take the safe and like figure it out later, but I'm sure there are ways around having to crack the safe in real time
Yeah,
in the office because like maybe
because
I'm picturing a smaller safe than it is, but if it's hidden in the wall behind a portrait, I feel like it's not that big.
that's
So
true.
why are you cracking it here? Take it home and crack it because it's gonna be obvious you stole from him any either way. Um,
Yeah, they were trying to slip out without him even noticing, but
but
apparently
he's
he's
obviously gonna notice. So
something. Yeah.
maybe they bought themselves a little extra time.
In any case, you're right. Okay, Umezawa is not useless. Fine. He's able to crack the safe, and we get the key that we're looking for. Oko pockets it, of course, and then we're like, "All right, let's go." And Umezawa is like, "Peace," and he just jumps into the shadows again. And so
Yeah,
now it is Oko with his illusion, and Tiny Bones jumps back in the package, and they just leave as if he's just taking a package somewhere else. But as they're walking down the hall, who do they happen to bump into but Ral and Kellen on their way to Prosperity to talk to Mr. Baron Bertram Greywater?
what are the
What
odds?
are the odds? That's crazy. Also, the fact that Oko feels Fey magic close to him and he is shooketh to the core.
Yeah. Okoeth be shooketh.
He freaks out and loses his illusion, immediately is seen as like this fairy with blue paint or whatever, and gets in a quick fight with Real and the bodyguard.
Which apparently means like, oh man, like I guess because he was holding an illusion or something, that made people panic. But apparently that means people are gonna fight him. They
Yeah.
see that he's a fae.
Well, I think it's also just like, hey, you can tell that I am not supposed to be here, and
Yeah.
there's the bodyguard. I don't know, was doing something, and so
But I feel like these people are clearly doing their own thing. Like just walking in the streets
I guess that's
this
true.
of Thunder Junction. Some guy's like, oh shit, my illusion. If they just ran past and be like, that was weird.
Weird.
Anyways.
I guess I was
Like I know.
imagining when they were inside the building still. And so it was like, if you guys start talking about stuff, then blah, 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 whatever.
Okay, I was picturing them on the street or like just
Okay.
in the outside,
I think they could,
tumbleweeds kind of going by.
either side, either way would probably work. But anyway, they do run outside at some point. And so they are
At
out
some
there.
point they're outside,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they have a quick little brawl. And Kellen immediately knows that's my dad.
Yeah. That guy who just like dropped his illusion, panicked, punched the guard in the face, and then
Yeah,
ran
and
away.
then Tiny Bones took his skull off or something and smashed Ralzeric in the head. That's my dad and his friend.
Yeah, I
I
knew it.
will die for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's a fight in the streets. Oko like turns into or make I don't know
Turns
really
into a
how his
big eagle or
yeah I
something,
don't
right?
know how his illusion powers work because he turns into an eagle and then is flying away, but then
And actually
Ralzeric
flies. Yeah.
yeah, he can actually fly. And then Ralzeric starts shooting lightning at him. So he's like, fuck this. I got to go back down because I can't get out in the open. I got to hide. And then he goes into the corner. Kellen gets there first because Kellen can fly and is really fast. But Ralzeric can also fly with lightning, but whatever. I guess he didn't want to do that.
Don't think too hard about what happened
Yeah, I
here.
won't do
But
that. Uh, Oko and Kellen have a quick moment where Kellen's like, "Oh shit, you're my daddy," and that kind of just like falls out of his mouth, which I guess would kind of make sense if you're like, I've been looking for you. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I go, you're my dad. I'm pretty sure you're my dad. Do you remember my mom? And he's like, oh shit, yeah, she was hot. And then
yeah.
they kind of have that weird exchange.
Which, it would be weird seeing your
That'd be pretty
son
weird.
after, you know. The
Well,
one thing I'll say is in classic fashion with these stories is I don't understand how old Kellen is because
we
I
don't.
thought he was supposed to be like a young man essentially at this point, but he's still kind of written like a child, and then everyone refers to him as child.
Yeah.
And so
So
I'm just like, I don't know how old this character is because he
s-
still talks like a child, but I know he's older than that.
I think he's younger. So when he was written in, basically, he always felt like a child, except for Murders at Color Manor. He felt like he was like
Yeah,
19 or like
right. And
20,
that's why
right?
I'm thinking he's like 21 now or something,
No, no, no. So I think
But
what it really is, he's probably like 14.
okay.
I think that
That
that's actually
jives.
his age.
That jives a little closer with how he's written.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, however he was written in Ravnica made me think he was like a late teenager or maybe even like a 20-year-old. And
Yeah,
then,
I saw. Yeah, I know. He did seem like he was on his first job, like right out of high school, kind of thing.
yeah, exactly.
But when we met him on Eldraine, he was like 9.
Right.
Like.
Yeah, definitely a kid in Eldritch. So I was like, I don't understand how old Kellen is, but
But he's also, I don't know. Do fairies like grow faster than humans?
do they mature faster? I don't
Maybe
like
half fairies.
they
I don't
mature
know.
slower, but grow
Or
in
grow
in
faster.
body faster.
I don't really know. I think this is a hotly debated topic. Someone was trying to tell me that it was 6 months in between each set or something.
So he's like
Um,
10.
so it's like 10 or 11. Um, but this whole set, I mean, it seems like
Well, he worked on Ravnica for a while though. Like made
he
that kind of
did.
clear where they're like he knows the different
Maybe
guilds. He
he's
worked here and
16.
then he went and became a detective. So
He could be like 16 or 17.
yeah.
I still imagine him as like 20, 21,
Yeah.
but maybe he's just 16 and that's it. I don't I
In my
still
head he was like 21 talking like a 12-year-old. I'm like, I don't understand this
yeah,
character, but we're just gonna blow
it's
past it.
it's a little dicey. I think we just have a bunch of different
I don't think the
writers.
authors, the writers got together and agreed on Kellen's
I
timelines.
really what it is I think Watsy didn't fully flesh out being like this is the actual timeline of Kellen. He's this old, then he's this old, then he's this old, then he's this
And the
old.
card art
He
doesn't help
no, because
much.
he
Where I'm
looks
just like,
old. He looks
yeah.
like he
So
fucks. He fucks like he's old.
yeah.
like this is not like a 12-year-old man. Like
Yeah.
this guy fucks. You
This dude's
know.
ancient, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. He's just definitely not. It's hard to explain. But this moment he feels very much like a child.
Yeah.
And anyway, the guards come. They're all around them. And surprisingly enough, Kellen is the one who saves Oko. He uses his vine magic to pull them all down and keep them prone. And then I think we just. Oh no! Before we leave, the rest of the team shows up and they're like, "What's up? Let's go back to the saloon." And
Yeah.
Ralzeric is there, and he's like, "Holy shit! Rakdos is here?" And
Yeah.
Rakdos is like, "Rakdos? What the fuck?" And also, let's just say Rakdos is just like comic relief in the story.
Yeah. It's such an interesting.
He's
Yeah.
from being at Murders at Karlov Manor, where he's seen as this like scary murder demon that like if we don't keep him entertained, he's gonna kill everyone.
Yeah.
To in this story, he's just like, haha, funny, punch the guy. He's like, that's his.
Yeah.
That's
This
basically
literally
his
is.
jokes.
Ah, I can't fit through the door.
Yeah, I have to be outside. Oh, I can't wait to spill blood. But like, he's not like scary, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, he does punch Ral like into next week, and
Yeah.
they're able to
Fucks him up.
all leave and go back to the saloon. And Kellen or Oko's like, "Hey, do you want to come with?" And Kellen's like, "Fuck yeah, I'm. That's the only reason I'm here." And then Oko thinks to himself, "Man, having a kid seems pretty cool. I think I'm all right
Yeah.
with this because I don't think he knew he had a child."
I
Um,
don't know if he did either because it said something about like, his mom's name and then also Kellen. So I think it seems like he didn't, but maybe he did and didn't care. 'Cause, it's Oko. And it's kind of like having a son is cool in the douchiest way possible, where it's like
it's like me, but again.
he has loyalty to me and
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
can abuse that,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
basically.
That's what you really meant. No, not in like the
Yeah.
narcissistic, like, yeah, it's just like another me. I'm good. This one's
Oh
good
yeah,
too.
no.
Yeah, not
Even
like
that would
that.
be better than his actual feelings, which are
Mhm.
I think I can use this person without having to trick them the way that I have to trick other people.
Yeah. Which you know what? Honestly, I'm just saying like that's a fair that's a correct characterization of him. And
Yes.
I think that they pull that off well. Um
Yeah, he's the
okay.
worst.
He's the worst, but I think he's very interesting and I do enjoy his character.
Oh, for sure.
Um
Yeah.
are
Just don't
we
hang out with him.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, well, unless you always have a crazy time with Oko. You just don't
It's true.
trust him with anything important. But he
Yeah,
does
you go
take
out
you.
once every few months with him and just be like,
You
this is
like
gonna be a weird
you call
fucking
up your
night.
other buddies. We have to come. Oko's taking
Yeah.
us out. Like we gotta
Yeah.
go. You know something crazy is gonna go down. We're gonna end up in a forest. It's gonna be. We might be elks. In the
Yeah,
morning.
we're all gonna be elk at some point, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be pretty sweet. I'd be down. I'd go. I'd party with
It's
Oko.
gonna give us some warm whiskey.
Yeah, ugh, at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. Let's go to episode number 3, which is a train to prosperity. Uh,
hmm
seems really beautiful, though. I'm pretty sure we were just there. So, like, all right. Um,
But we didn't take a train there.
that's true.
We
You're very
got
right.
there through undescribed means.
So we start off with Akul, who is learning that there's a shape-shifting fae with blue face paint that stole something very important from Bertram Greywater. Uh, so he immediately knows that he needs to look for essentially Oko, and he's the one who has the thing that he really wants. So we go back to the saloon. We have the whole crew is there, all 13, no, 14 of them now that Kellen's part of the crew. Jeez, that's so
True.
many.
That does ruin the whole
Yeah.
oceans theory.
I mean, if we don't count Ashiok as one of the actual people, um,
Then they don't have 11 to start with.
that's true. They have They,
It would have been perfect story if they had one person that they broke out of prison. Because then it'd
yeah,
be like 11, they break someone out 12, and then with Kellen they go
mhm,
up to
the
13. And
13.
that,
Well, then, if we didn't have Umezawa, boom, done. Perfect.
yeah,
Uh, so we're
all
back
his
there.
fault.
Kellen has now joined, and then immediately he sees Ashiok and Ariette, and he's like, fuck the hell off. Get the
Yeah,
fuck out of here. I know you bitches. And you turned Rowan evil, was like some of his direct phrasing, I'm pretty sure, in the story.
yeah.
Um,
Something to do
it's
about the Kenriths and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because obviously, if you remember from Eldraine, we we of course Ariette and Ashiok were the main villains of that, and Kellen was fighting against them. So pretty accurate that he would walk in and be like, wait, whoa, what? Um,
and I don't remember exactly how, but I do remember the way they wrote Oko in this scene was good too, because it's a bit like, oh, they messed with the Kenriths? Oh no, like, who would do such a thing?
oh yeah, that's true. It's true.
It's like, did Oko do that in his
Did,
storyline?
that's exactly what he did, and like stole their dad and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Turned him into an elk or some shit. Like,
um, and this is part of Kellen being like, I I thought like I want to be a good guy. I want to be a good person. I want to be a hero, which is his arc. But now I'm kind of in this place where like I want to be closer to my dad and I want him to know me and I want to know him, but I'm really confused about the people that he's like hanging out with.
yeah,
Surprised that he doesn't immediately say, "Well, if you're with them, fuck, I'm leaving." He does not do that.
no.
Basically, because Oko just convinces him that they're totally fine and they're just working with him, but they're not like best friends, I guess, or whatever.
I mean, Kellen has some daddy issues.
He
Like
does.
he needs a father figure in his life, or he feels like he does.
Hmm.
And I think if Oko wasn't there, he'd be like, "Well, I'm not going to roll
Totally.
with
Yeah,
these
yeah.
thugs."
Absolutely.
Uh, and so it's not even so much about what Oko says; it's just that his dad is quote unquote vouching for them. So
Yeah. So we basically have this key, right? And one of Karavek's the reasons he's part of the team is that he's a really old dude and he knows
you're
ancient
old. Join my
yeah
team.
yeah he knows ancient like artifacts and stuff. So he was supposed to be able to identify the key and figure out what it does or what it is, or if it works or how it works or whatever, because it doesn't look like a regular key. Key. This is a key, um, but he can't do that. Karavek's like, I'm sorry, man. This is actually I'm old, but this is like really ancient. Like I
It's
don't
like,
know what
yeah,
this is.
even
I don't
older than me.
understand. And they're like, and then Umezawa's like, why the fuck are you here? What is going
Yeah.
on? And I'm thinking, why the fuck are you both here? I guess besides the safe thing. Okay, so now it's just Karavek. Umezawa, you're cool now. You're cool now. Karavek, why the
Yeah.
fuck are you here? You do nothing. Um,
Man, you really got to earn your keep if you're going to be part of a heist team with Zach. Like,
yeah,
you
you really do, man.
gotta.
When there's 14 people, that's way the cut. Hey, buddy, I am a server, right? And so when you pool tips, if someone isn't pulling their weight, you try to cut them from the team, man. You're like, get
Yeah,
out of here because that's more for the rest of us.
yeah.
Um,
You think you're taking an equal share? You're out of your mind.
no, you don't do your side duties. Get the fuck out of here. I saw you just dicking around eating food in the back. Get off the team. That's how I feel about Karavek. So we find out that Greywater also needs someone to help him figure out what the key fucking does or anything. So there's this dude. He is called the Outcaster, and he is currently on a train to Prosperity. I guess that's why it's called the train to Prosperity because they're not on the train to go to Prosperity. They're just on the train because the person they need is headed to Prosperity. That makes sense. All right, I understand it now. I put it together. I'm glad I did that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they didn't just like break him out of the jail cell again or whatever.
Well, he wasn't in the jail cell. I don't think he was on his way to the jail cell.
I know
Um,
they could just wait and then take him to the jail cell. And also,
that's true.
the issue that I had with this was they're talking about this plan, and there's like, we just need this outcaster guy, and then they're like, there's only one problem. He's currently on a train to prosperity. And then the next scene is them also on that same train that apparently was already in motion to prosperity when
Oh,
they were having their discussion.
this is some of the things that I love the most about this is that we can cut out all the bullshit. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff trying to get on the train. I love that we just get places.
Yeah,
I
but all they had to do to appease me was say he's on a train that
about
that is about to leave or whatever
right,
that
sure,
like
sure, sure, sure.
leaves in an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
Just it
Well,
not already on his way on a train to prosperity. Come on.
I mean, like, what if their saloon is in the middle? So, like, the train is over here, and they're like, he's on the train. It's coming. It takes about, you know, 3 hours to get to where we are before it gets to prosperity. So we're good.
And
We
then it
have time
happens
to
to have a
plan.
stop there. Like you can imagine a trivial way that they get on this train, but it
Hmm.
like then why were they like it's such a problem? You
Because they
know?
have to get him off the train. I don't
Yeah,
know. I loved that we didn't have to deal with any of that. That was
yeah,
perfect to me.
don't deal with it, but
Yeah, yeah.
then don't also make it seem super complicated. The part that like I'm
Well, it's
imagining there's a running train and they're like have to catch up to it and then
Jeff. I
like
don't.
hop on.
I think hard part is that he's on a train that's heavily guarded, and they have to get him off the moving train. I think that's the hard part, not getting on the train.
I think the train was already gone,
Okay.
because they were already where the outcaster was supposed to be, essentially.
Yeah, but he wasn't there yet. I mean, they could have just waited there,
So
but there were people trying to
if the
get them.
problem was that he was on a train that left and they were close to where he left from, the train is in motion and gone.
Yeah. Yeah, but what if the train has left from a further
And
distance?
just makes like a lot of stops. It's not express, just like and they're just like
Well,
gonna
they
get ahead
also
of the train
they're
somehow and get on at the
magic.
next stop.
I'm saying that they're already ahead of the train. Where the saloon is, they're ahead of the train is like many towns. We don't know where the train's coming from, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they said that he was nearby.
Yeah.
Except he's on this train. So the train picked him up where he's from, presumably.
Okay, all right.
And so the train has already passed them, in
Jeff.
my understanding of the
Okay.
situation.
In my understanding, it's not already past them. In,
Well, that's
so in either case, we just get a smash cut to being on the train, which is great to me because then you don't have to worry about all this other stuff.
big blank.
Oh
Curious
shit.
how they did that.
Whatever. So we have a plan to get this dude off the train. All right, everybody has a role in the plan. Malcolm.
Is that true?
Yeah, well, let's find out. Malcolm is
Oh, I
in,
see. Yeah.
yeah, he's in the air. He has his eyes, so he's watching out for all the different things.
All right.
Breaches. His plan is he's going to blow up the train tracks, and so the train must stop before it runs off a cliff, because obviously everyone would die. Because they
Yeah.
want the train to stop, so that
And
they
he
can get
doesn't
off.
just blow up, like he blows up the tracks over a bridge, like you're alluding
Hmm.
to. Like it's
Yeah,
gonna go over a cliff. I
like
feel like you could just blow up the tracks anywhere and the train can no longer traverse that hole in the tracks.
yeah, but this is more dramatic, Jeff.
Yeah, you're right.
Also, it's easier to blow up a bridge, I would assume, to make it very
Maybe.
obvious. It would also be very like I think it would be easier to see as the conductor to be like, "Oh
It's just
shit,
like a
there's."
way bigger deal, you know? Like
But it also breaches like bigger boom better,
yeah,
right?
I'm not saying Breaches wouldn't like it. I was
Okay.
saying like maybe a mastermind like Oko is not trying to draw too much attention to
Well,
this.
Alko's obviously not a really great mastermind, even though I was talking him up earlier.
Yeah.
Oops. Anyway,
Yeah, he is a
Umazawa
bit chaotic.
Umazawa is supposed to pick the lock where Nolan, the outcaster, is. We find out his name is Nolan. Kellen finds out somehow. I don't really know how he does that, but he just knows his name's Nolan.
Helen just knows him for some reason, I
Yeah.
think, from probably working with Raul Zarek or something.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Um, so Oko, he has to grab Nolan. Kellen knows the guards' patterns because he was working as one of the security guards. So he knows when they move to different parts of the train and their schedules, I guess. That's why he ends up being important.
So far, I'm with you.
All right, that makes sense. Annie's job is to extract all the people that are on the train, which is Oko, Kellen, Nolan, and Umezawa,
Yes.
onto Fortune.
What I
And
learned from this is that Fortune is really fucking fast.
and really big.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as fast as a train, a speeding train. It's like a super horse. Geese's job is to raise an undead zombie army.
Yes.
Okay. Why?
For the
Why?
train heist,
For
Zach.
the train heist. We need a fucking bunch of zombies.
Also,
Sure.
they're just like I think the corollary to this for me was like there's just corpses littered around these train
Just
tracks.
not just just
Like,
literally the thing about necromancers is that there are dead bodies everywhere.
everywhere.
Just littered everywhere, and they're fully formed skeletons,
Yeah.
as well as decomposing bodies in
Yeah.
any nook and cranny of any place you are
Yeah,
could
they just like
possibly
come
be.
out of the ground. Like, why'd they bury him there?
Yeah, that
Who
doesn't make any
buried
sense.
someone there?
Geralf is the medic. His job is also to fight with Gisa. That's very important. And then Ashiok is there to link everyone's minds together for communication so that we can make sure everything goes off without a hitch.
Okay.
Hmm. That's weird.
Do they not have walkie-talkies on Thunder Junction?
No, but somebody else used to do this a lot. Huh, interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm. I can't remember his name. It was he's a character a long time ago. Like he used to be around, but like we don't see him anymore. Huh.
No, I'm not sure what you're talking about, to be
Weird. Yeah.
honest.
Anyway, that we'll see. Anyway, we have four more members. Rakdos. What the fuck is he supposed to do? I don't know. Vraska. Same thing. Okay. Tiny Bones. Tiny Bones. So important. Doesn't have a job for the train.
Not on
And
this one.
and then Ariat also just fucks off.
Yeah. This is a situation where Tiny Bones could probably play Umezawa's job.
Yeah. This
He
is.
really wanted him to.
It'd also be so much easier to get him on the train and get him off the train because he's just a
Yeah.
bag of bones.
And Area does nothing as usual. Like you could have found a different way to distract the guards for the jailbreak too, by the way.
Mhm.
Like she just doesn't have a
She's
need to be
literally there
here.
because, like,
Because she's Ashiok's puppet, right? Because they were
I guess,
playing and Ashiok's the big boss of this whole thing, so
I guess.
yeah.
Then because nobody else knows how to play the piano in the bar.
Oh, that's true. You do
Yeah,
need a good musician if you're gonna
it's
have
true.
a saloon party.
Yeah, you need like the somebody to play the out of tune piano, or it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so everything's going according to plan. The guards are moving towards the front of the train. The prison is in the back of the train. They're gonna go pick the lock. Blah blah blah. But then everyone's linked telepathically, and Gisa can't shut the fuck up about raising zombies, which nobody knows why she wants to do this either. Like, I don't understand why we need a zombie army at all.
I'm kind of wondering if Gisa's on the team because they needed some sort of medic, and so they took Geralf, and they felt like, but he would do it without his sister because they
Yeah,
hate
because
each other.
they hate each
So
other.
I don't know, but
She's
yeah,
literally just here because she wants to have fun. Maybe they were just thinking having an army could be helpful at some point.
I
Oko
feel like the
does.
zombie army was supposed to be a distraction, I
It
guess.
could have been helpful at another point, but basically, it seems like Oko just kind of picks people for his team, being like, "That could be helpful at some point. You might as
Yeah.
well come along," kind of thing.
But
That's
then he's a nice and benevolent leader who tries to work everyone into the plan,
Yeah,
you
which is
know?
also kind of strange. Um, but that's how he like gets people. He does make people feel really good about themselves, and like in a
Yeah.
weird way. I don't know. He's good at tricking you, obviously. Um, anyway,
He's a bit of a trickster.
yeah. Through all of this, Gisa raises the zombies too early, like way too early.
Yeah.
Um, and now
And
they're on the train
yeah,
somehow.
so there's just zombies all over the fucking train. So were these dead bodies on the
On
train
the train,
already?
yeah, they were like in the floorboards and like in the walls, and they just like bust
We're
out
not talking
somehow.
like two, three zombies, two, three
No,
dead bodies were already on this train, guys. We're talking like dozens.
yeah, what is that card called? Rush of Dread or something? Or
Oh
Dead?
yeah,
Rush of the Dead?
friggin'
Uh whatever the new spree card that makes you like half your creatures or half your life or half the
one
cards
of
in
those
your hand.
cards where you're just like, no way to lose this game, and then your opponent casts that, and you're
Yeah.
like, no way to win this game.
Hmm. That isn't a real story spotlight, but that's what Gisa did. There's zombies fucking everywhere. And they're
All over
destroying
this
everything.
train. Yeah.
And thanks a lot, Gisa, because now the guards are like, holy shit, something's going on. And so they're running towards the back. Now there's fucking thunderbolts shooting everywhere, and everybody's running around. Umezawa's trying to open the lock. He gets shot in the fucking shoulder, and he's like dying, but still trying to open the lock.
Yeah.
And then
Like, my one job. I
yeah,
must not fail.
I got to show them that I'm worth something. They want to bring me back into the next job.
Yeah.
Umezawa opens the lock. We grab Nolan, and Umezawa's literally laying against the wall, being like, "Don't take me with you. I'm afraid that if I go unconscious and Giralf is stitching me up. I'm gonna have too many limbs when I wake up.
Yeah.
He's like, please don't make that happen to me. And they're like, don't worry, don't worry. We'll make sure it's okay.
Oku's like, don't worry, I don't care at all. But by the way, you just mentioned the Thunder Guns, and like the whole time I'm just thinking, like, I know it's Thunder Junction and all that, and Thunder's supposed to represent some sort of magical energy,
Hmm.
but like in real life, Thunder's like just a loud sound. So I'm just imagining these guns that just goes like boom, but
Yeah,
don't actually
I
do
guess.
anything. They just make a really loud
I
sound.
guess. Did you ever watch Looper? Do you know Looper?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I've seen
There's.
it. Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. Maybe it's not Looper. No, 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 no. Sorry, I'm thinking of Minority Report. That's what I'm thinking of.
Mhm.
Basically, they have a weapon in that just shoots like sound waves. So it like
Yeah.
pushes people over, but like it doesn't kill them or hurt them.
Okay.
But it's like a I don't know. It's a non-lethal weapon. Um,
Gotcha. This
so
felt like it
these
was supposed to be lightning, but because it's called Thunder Junction,
yes,
they're saying
that's
thunder.
absolutely what it is because this is definitely not non-lethal weapons. The Uma's always bleeding out right now.
Yeah.
Um, all right, Jeff. What happens next? So we go on top of the train and we're getting attacked from everywhere.
Yeah. For whatever reason, we had to go on top of the train.
Hmm.
I mean, of course, it's a Western movie with a train. So we get on top of the train, and also there are zombies on top of the train, and then
Okay.
also there's a whole bunch of guards on top of the train with their thunder guns. And so basically like a top of the train battle kind of occurs, and we are like, you know what, maybe the top of the train wasn't a great idea, and we get back into the car. I'm not totally sure. Like Kellen basically says that one's the one he'll be in. That's the prison car. So
Hmm.
I think they make their way over there, but then they mention Satoru. So I don't know if he came out of the shadows, like he did his shadow thing or something.
Yeah.
But
There, there's this.
it felt
There's
like they
this.
were on two different cars.
There's kind of a
Yeah.
situation like the best way for them to like move between cars was to go up on top of the train for some reason. Anyway,
Yeah.
they
Because
also
Satoru didn't open the door. I don't know.
yeah, they're also up there because they need to jump off of the train, and it seemed easiest that way. And Fortune is there to help them.
Hmm.
So this is also the moment where Kellen realizes like the train isn't stopping. So Breaches blew up the bridge.
Yes.
Once all the zombie stuff happened, Breach is like, fuck it, let's just go. And the point was that the train was supposed to stop, but because of the zombies, I think they ate the conductor or something. I don't know. I think that there's no one driving the train anymore. And
Correct.
Kellen gets really, really worried about all the innocent people traveling on this train who are also there, which we failed to mention earlier.
What a nerd.
Yeah, kind of a nerd move, but what are you gonna do?
Just worried about hundreds of innocents falling to their death.
Lame.
It's not important, Kellen.
So Kellen keeps mentioning it to Oko, and Oko's like, "Okay, yeah, no, no, we'll do it later. We'll do it
We'll
later. Like
definitely save them
we
just as soon as we save ourselves. We can't
mhm,
save them if we're dead.
exactly." So there's a lot of that going on, and right when they're about to jump off onto Fortune, Kellen looks at Oko, being like, "What about everybody else?" And Oko just turns and jumps onto Fortune and just says,
Yeah.
"Fucking peace," and leaves Kellen to die, basically. And just says like, "You got it, kid. Figure it out. Jump now, or you're done." And so Kellen says, "You know what? Fuck you." And he flies up in the sky with his lassos and pulls a full fucking Spider-Man 2
Yeah.
put your things on the train, pull it so it doesn't like fly off the edge, save all the innocent people thing. Um, and while he's doing that, he can't fully bring the train to a stop. It seems like it's like going off the edge, and he's
Yeah.
trying to pull it up, which brings us to story spotlight number 2, Mystical Tether. Which, if you've been playing any Thunder Junction Limited at all, you know this card very well because it's two
Yeah.
and a
I've
white
seen this one.
for an enchantment. You may cast it as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it, so 5 total. And when it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. This is the
I've
moment.
never looked at the art on this card too closely.
Mhm.
Now I get it. I was seeing this totally differently when I was just playing with it in passing. I thought it was like the canyon there was some sort of bird thing with the wings, and like
Oh,
that's like a little beak and a neck there, and that was being trapped somehow
Oh,
by
weird.
some
By
sort of
his.
lasso. I didn't even really see Kellen at all. And so I was just like, I never looked too closely. I don't know what's happening here,
Oh,
but
that's so funny. Because
definitely not him saving a train from going over the edge. Now I totally see it. But
that's
yeah,
because I was literally thinking, like, reading the story, being like, oh, there's a train episode. Oh,
yeah.
well, Mystical Tether makes
I
a
know
ton
what's
of
gonna happen.
sense.
And I was like, whoa, Kellen did what? That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically he's holding the train up before it like falls off the edge. And as he's doing that, there's an army of Sterling people. I guess Bertram has an army for the
Yeah.
Sterling Company because they're rushing towards him. And he comes back around, starts shooting at the front runners, and says, "This is enough time for you to get all the innocent people off the train, then you can let go." They do exactly that. All the innocent people are saved thanks to Kellen for holding the train off I don't know, falling to its depths. He lets go and the train falls off of the edge like one of those TikTok videos. Have you seen those? Where they just like let all the like soda bottles fall off or all the glass bottles fall onto the ground and they just go you know? Nope. Okay.
Oh.
Well, there's a specific TikToker that really cares
You
about
seen
it.
those TikTok videos where they throw trains over canyons? And
I mean, like I know somebody who would really like watching one of those,
yeah.
but they do explicitly say that it sounds like rapid succession of all the cars smashing and blowing up. So it's like blah blah blah
Ah,
blah 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 blah. Blah. So that's what I thought about. Anyway,
cool.
cool. Okay, never seen that
Yeah,
reference.
yeah,
Cool, cool, cool.
interesting.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Um, Perfect. So Kellen saves the day. Annie helps him do it, and he jumps on the back of Fortune, and they ride off to safety. And the army doesn't get them. And that is the end of episode 3. Whew, all right.
I feel like episode 4 is one we can kind of speed through a little bit
Yeah,
here.
totally. I think so. Actually, no, this one has a lot of stuff going on.
What are you talking about?
Oh, wait, maybe I was thinking of episode 5. Yeah, episode 5 is the one I think we can speed through. Episode 4 seems like a lot of shit happens. There's so many
Okay.
things.
Well, take us to it then.
All right, so this is episode 4, Finding Tarnation. So this is hours later after they robbed the train, and Nolan, the outcaster, is in a trance by Ariette, and they're sitting in the saloon. And basically, Ashiok is there trying to figure out information about where the vault is, the Fomori vault that they want to get to. Because obviously he's the one. We thought that we were just going to get him and be like, hey, what is this key? Turns
Yeah.
out we're not going to do that at all. Ashiok's just going to pull all the information right out of his head.
While he's charmed for some reason.
Yeah. For story spotlight number 3, Jeff, take it away.
Seize the secrets. This is 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Costs 1 less to cast if you've committed a crime this turn, and draw 2 cards. Card that I thought might be good at the start of the format, and I never play it.
Yeah, it's not very good. But that's probably because blue is one of the worst colors. I will say that in the art of this card, it looks like Nolan is dying, and it is horribly painful.
Yes.
In the story, Oko assures Kellen that it isn't painful at all, and that he'll be totally fine. I don't know which to trust. Oko lies often and tells us that things are going to be okay when they're not. So is the card art telling us that this was actually incredibly painful, even though he was charmed and he had a bunch of inner turmoil that Kellen can't see, and he just wanted to believe that his dad was saying that it was totally fine?
That's what I was
All right.
thinking. But
Okay, we're on the same page then. Yeah, for sure. Definitely, definitely. So what Ashiok finds out is that the artifact that we have, the key, we thought was 1 key, is actually the 6th key of 6 keys, obviously, if it's the 6th.
now this part I didn't totally understand because this is mentioned earlier. And they
Is it?
say like the 6th key.
Oh, you're
is
right. You're right. You're right. They
found
do
or
say this.
something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, didn't we know that? Like, I thought I knew that, so that means we must know that.
And then
But
we
this is
learned
being written as though it's a
revealed.
revelation. Yeah.
That's true. Sorry. When they find the key in the office, they say the 6th key, and then
Yeah.
later they're like, "Wait, this is not just the 1 key; it's the 6th
One
one."
of 6? I'm like, but you called it the 6th key
Yeah.
earlier. Like,
Maybe you're right. You're right. I did remember seeing that. Anyway, the other five keys are on Akul's neck. He wears it as a necklace. And they did
Oh,
find him.
also,
Sorry.
sorry, that's the other thing I wanted to say. Like, from a story's perspective of, okay, we don't just have the full key, that would be the revelation. But later they're gonna make a big deal of these combining into one key. I'm like, what's the difference? Like, anyways, whatever. Do you need six keys? Whatever. For
Yeah.
collecting them, yes, but later it's gonna be like, and then you have six keys formed into one key. And it's
Yeah.
just like, what's
So,
the difference between one super key and six keys that all go in different slots? It doesn't
well,
matter.
one super key is easier to open than six. You have to, you know,
But you have to
takes more
wait for
time.
this thing to happen.
That's
Anyways,
true.
whatever.
Anyway, they
It's a
also
criticism for later, but I wanted to make sure it got in there.
perfect. In the mind of Nolan, we find a map to Tarnation. Sorry, we find where the map of Tarnation is. It's
Yes.
in the Thief's Folly, which is like a graveyard. Which, of course, Gisa is overjoyed that there's a map and there's a bunch of bodies that she gets to go hang out with. Um, so they're like, sweet. Okay, so now we have to go get this map from the graveyard so that we can go find Tarnation. Tarnation's the place where the Mag Taranau is. So that's Tarnation, Taranau. I think that's kind of where that comes from.
And this part I feel like you're gonna love on how this was done.
Oh, it's
Um,
perfect. It's
and I
perfect.
loved it too. And I
Mhm.
was just like, given what
So,
you've said already, I'm like,
mhm.
Zach must have loved this as well.
So that happens. Not only that, but Kellen also is assured by Oko that he'd oh yeah, there's a whole thing where like Oko was saying, "Hey, I left the train whole situation. You know, you saved all the innocent people. That's so great. I'm so happy for you. I knew you would already be able to
Yeah.
do it. Like
I just had belief in my
you,
son. Is that
you,
such a crime?
yeah, you didn't need me. I knew you could do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
Like I didn't need to be there. You were gonna do it. And so it's still this kind of weird thing of like Kellen's like, oh, I don't know if I really trust him or whatever. And also now that Nolan is no longer useful, we have the map or we have the place of where the map is, and we have information about the key or whatever. Um, we don't need
Right.
him. And
Forgot
and
about this
Kellen's
part.
like, you can't just leave him in the middle of the desert because we're not back at the saloon. We're like in a
Yeah.
campfire
We're
somewhere.
just like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And uh, they're like, well, of course we're just gonna leave him here. Who
Yeah,
cares?
what do you mean?
And Kellen's like, he have to help him get back to his home. And they're like, Kellen, why would we do
Yeah,
that?
they
We're
all
gonna waste
just
so much
laugh
time.
basically.
We're gonna waste so much time. Like I would kill him, but you're here, so we'll just
Yeah,
let
like
him die of starvation. So Kellen obviously doesn't like it, and him and Annie decide to go drop Nolan off at the nearest oasis, which is a real thing apparently. And they're able to, I don't know, keep him alive. Uh, cut to all of those things already happened. Yeah. So
yes.
Gisa and Jeroff walk back through the door. They have the map already, and Kellen and Annie are already back off after dropping off Nolan. We don't have to go through any of that shit. It was perfect. I was like,
Yeah.
mwah, chef's
I
kiss.
was
This is
so worried when they were talking about the map. I'm like, now we're gonna go steal a map? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, when is the story gonna happen
yeah.
here? But then it's just like Gisa and Geralt come back in, they're all fucked up, they're like
They're
bloody,
like,
they're
is
tired. They're like, here's your fucking map. They
Mhm.
slam it on the table. Like, that's the perfect way to deal with
Yeah.
this.
Just smash cut right into it. I think one of the side stories is about them getting the map, but I think that was like executed very well because
Yeah.
I had the same feeling as you of like, I don't want to have to go get a stupid. It's just like it's just like a random story for us to
Like
go.
we've done that part, right? We
Yeah,
got the key, then we got the guy who knows the key. Now we have to use the guy that
guide
knows
to
the key to
key to
get the
get the
map to go to the place where the key goes. And like, no, it's
yeah.
enough.
And so that was I loved that. I thought that was
Yeah.
perfect. And it worked really really well. Uh,
And again, it felt like another movie scene where it just
mhm.
cuts to them just being like, here's your stupid map, and they're all fucked up. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes.
It's the kind of thing where someone asks a question in one scene and then we're answered by a shot of the next thing or somebody saying something and then the smash cut. I
Yeah.
like that's yes, it's exactly on the money for this movie. It's perfect. Um so now we decide we are going to Tarnation. And Tarnation is where Akul and the Hellspurs live. So this is a big bad place, scary stuff, and we have to just get the scariest people to pretend that they're also Hellspurs, so they can go in and be able to rub elbows with the rest of the outlaws. Really a fit in. So of course we got Vraska, we got Oko, we have Annie, who used to be one, and then we got Kellen, because obviously Kellen fits it right in, right?
Yeah, makes perfect
Totally.
sense. I understand why they need four
Hmm.
specifically, and I understand why those four were chosen.
Hmm.
No further questions.
Yeah, we can't bring everyone because obviously there'd be too many. And this is also the moment where Oko
I would have brought
realizes.
Rakdos personally,
Mhm.
but
He's
yeah,
too big. He doesn't fit in, and he might question Akul's authority. You don't want
exactly.
that. You want to blend in. Rakdos is big,
Yeah,
and we
I feel
only
like
get
Rakdos blends into the Hellspurs.
4 people. This is also story spotlight number 4, which is Plan the Heist, which is a blue card that's actually pretty good. 2 blue for a sorcery. Surveil 3 if you have no cards in your hand, and then you draw 3 cards. And you can also plot it for 3 and a blue. So you always get to draw 3 cards, but if you have no cards, you surveil 3. This is another
Yeah,
one of those pictures where all the characters in it are the ones I thought that were part of the team,
right.
and it turns out no, it's there's many more.
Yeah, it's not even half the team.
Nope, not even. But I guess there's 6 team members. The main
Oh yeah, there's
4.
Tiny Bones there in
I
the
forgot
front.
about Tiny Bones.
Yeah,
How could I forget about Tiny Bones? He's one of the
I
most
know.
important characters. I love him.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also wanted to mention that this is the moment where Oko does realize, oh, the best way to manipulate Kellen is through flattery. So you have to make him feel like he can really do it. He's a big shot. If we can't, like, we need him more than anybody, um, which is how he convinces him to come on the mission.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to call this our inner crew, which is Vraska, Annie, Oko, and Kellen. And they walk into a bunch of different saloons in Tarnation looking for someone from the Hellspurs. So I guess Tarnation, sorry, earlier I said Tarnation is just where the Hellspurs are. It's they're there as well as a bunch of other outlaws. It's not just the Hellspurs.
Yeah, but it's
But
also like secret, right? We had to go get the map to it and
yeah,
stuff, so
it
it's kind
definitely
of
seems like it's the kind of place. Remember in the Mummy where like you can only see it at a certain part of the day, like
Mhm.
the what the fuck is that city called? Anyway, my wife would know. She loves the Mummy. But anyway, you have to wait during sunrise to. That's the only time you can see it, and then you can race towards the place. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Where like if you're just walking there, you can't find it, but if you know what to do, you can get there.
It's also just like a huge, I'm just picturing it's in the middle of a huge fucking desert and like you
Hmm.
can't navigate really, so you
Yeah,
need some sort of map that paces things out for you so that you know exactly how to get there. It's sort of
exactly.
what I was thinking, but it's
So
definitely probably some magic too somehow. And
mhm. We eventually walk into a saloon, and Annie spots out a person called Twist Fandango. They are somebody that Annie knows from her Hellspur days,
Mhm.
and says, "Oh, that's that. Yep, that's it. Go
That's
talk.
old twist.
Go talk to Fandango and get some movie tickets." Um. Anyway, if you, no Fandango. Is that still a thing? I don't know.
I don't even
Um.
know what you're referring to,
Oh,
but
really?
I assume it's some sort of movie ticket based app.
Yeah, Fandango's like it was like an app or something to get movie
Yeah,
tickets for like Cineplex or whatever.
gotcha.
Uh, anyway, Oko heads over to talk to her in his disguise. Everybody's all looks cool or whatever. And Kellen's trying to blend in and just sits down in a booth. It turns out it was the booth from like How I Met Your Mother, and everybody comes over
Yeah,
like, get the fuck out. This is our
that's
booth.
our booth. And then Kellen's like, "Oh, sorry," and they're like, "Whoa, excuse me, you're no fucking Hellspur."
This is a full Canadian moment
Yeah,
because like this is like Kellen trying to be not just like polite but also saying sorry.
yeah,
So he like totally it would be like if I was somewhere and I sat down and I said like, "Oh, sorry," and people are like American immediately.
yeah,
They like point right at me.
yeah.
Um
It's basically what happens.
yeah.
You're not from here, are you?
You didn't say sorry, so
Yeah,
you're not from here. That's basically what they said except for how did you learn how to be polite if
Yeah,
you're around here? Um,
suspicious as hell.
yeah, idiot.
And it's like
Anyway,
a obviously like a dive bar kind of like rough town sort of
mhm,
biker vibe where it's like, yeah, if somebody came in and had those, man, like when you tell someone to get the fuck out of your booth, they should fight you.
yeah,
That's what
or leave
normal social behavior is in
and
this establishment.
like kind of curse your name and like get up and be
Yeah.
like, oh fucking whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to dust it off for you? You know, that's kind of
Right.
Kellen. Uh,
Yeah.
anyway, we get a huge bar room blitz,
Yeah.
and
We needed the tavern brawl. That had to happen at some
yep,
point. The saloon brawl, I mean, like
yeah, worked pretty well.
just imagine people flying through the like swinging
Oh, the
saloon
swinging doors,
doors. Yeah.
totally. Like somebody gets thrown out a window, a bunch of tables get overturned and broken.
Yeah. It's
Said,
rolls up his sleeves and runs back in.
yeah,
Like,
said
yeah.
booth that is their booth gets, busted to shreds. Like, hey, my booth,
Yeah.
all that stuff. That stuff, all that happens. Um, and our four inner crew get captured.
The coolest thing about the brawl, I thought, was the description they had of Oko turning into the various enemies in the brawl,
Oh,
and
right.
it confused them, so they all just started punching each other as well, and just like they'll just punch whoever's closest to them. So he really caused all this chaos by like,
So obviously Oko's having a great time.
yeah,
Classic Oko. They do all get captured though, and then they're hanging by their arms. So basically, they're like chains to the rafters of this like thing. I think they're kind of outside. They're like in the bottom of a quarry,
yeah,
um, hanging by some sort of like things, but their feet can like almost touch the ground. Like they're so
right.
close. They can scrape their toes on the ground, but they can't really touch. So obviously horribly painful. Um,
Definitely not pleasant.
Definitely not. And Akul walks over and he's making fun of them, being like, "Oh, you really thought you could fucking do this? Like, look at you, all stupid idiots." Um, he goes over to Oko and says, "Like, hey, where's the key?" And Oko's like, "Hey, if you let me go, I can show you where the key is." And Akul immediately just goes into his shirt and rips it off of the chain it was on his neck, and just
Yeah,
puts it on his, being like, "Really? All right." And now he has all six pieces of the key, and it makes a key shape. No, not a
yeah,
key shape. It makes like it's a circle and a bunch of triangles around it. And it's like cool.
yeah.
This is my ancient
Now
key.
we, as like readers, we know that Oko was up to something already. But to me, this would
Mhm.
be like, this is such a huge red flag that he walked in with the key around his neck. Like, you thought that, anyways, why would he do that? He has no reason to do that. He's
He
on a,
does.
he's
I
here to steal your keys.
Yes, I was also surprised that Oko would have brought it with him because that seems very stupid. Um,
But
but
I
he
guess
did.
Akul is just so arrogant that it's like, that wouldn't even cross his mind that
Yeah,
this
exactly.
trickster, this known trickster, walked right up to you with the thing that you want. And you're like, oh, you fools, you fell for my trap. Like,
Yeah.
come on, Akul.
I mean,
I know you're not like a genius, but yeah.
I will say, to be fair, he doesn't know Oko, right? Like he's not familiar with his ways. He
He knows he's
knows.
like a shapeshifter and he steals stuff from people and he's tricky, basically.
Yeah, but I guess like he thinks
Just too
that's
arrogant, I guess. But
yeah, I guess yeah, you're right. He's too arrogant and also thinks that I would assume that he would think that those are like little wimpy powers. Like, oh, you can shapeshift.
right,
What's
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the best thing you could shapeshift into is a scorpion dragon because that's the
Of
best thing that
course.
there
Yeah.
is what he's thinking. Um anyway, they're basically realizing that they're all going to die and starve and either that or get killed or tortured. So Kellen's trying to figure out how to get them out of this. And so Kellen decides that he's going to challenge Akul to a duel.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning just in passing that when they first got to this Hellspur's place, they witnessed a duel between two Hellspurs who were settling
Oh,
some
sure,
sort of
sure, sure.
dispute, and one killed the other, and Kellen was like, and everyone was like, that's just how we settle disputes here. Don't worry about it, kid.
And so
And
he
now I'm like,
decides,
if he was 14, like, whoa, that's a pretty fucked up thing for a 14-year-old to see.
Yeah,
21-year-old, yeah, whatever. Any
yeah, whatever.
21-year-old sees a duel to the death with
It's fine.
axes.
It's fine. He fucks.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So that's what
um,
gives him the idea to challenge a cool. Um, and basically, a cool's like, well, no, I have you. Like, I have you all chained up. I have literally nothing to gain from this.
he's hanging. So I challenge you to a duel. If I win, you set me free, and if I lose, I guess we'll die. He's like, well,
Yeah,
you're already going to die, so
right. I
I
literally gain nothing from
yeah.
that. And then Oko goes, "Bark, bark, bark,
Yeah.
bark, 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 bark." And that's all it really
Yeah,
took.
and Vraska and Annie all join in on the
Yeah,
bullying of a cool, which I'm for. It's good. So you gotta,
yeah.
just poke him a little bit. So he does decide to accept the duel, and it will be at midnight.
Back to his arrogance or image being very meaningful to him. That they're basically able to like call him a little bitch until he accepted this proposal that in no way could possibly benefit him. But from his perspective, like there's also no way he's ever going to lose. So what's the difference? Let's not
Exactly.
look weak in front of my men, kind of thing.
Totally. Totally. So Jeff, we're going to episode number 5, High Moon. Love it. High
Yeah.
Moon. It's midnight. Get it? It's cute. See, normally these happen at high noon when the sun is highest in the sky.
Oh,
So now it's the opposite. It's
now
high
I get it.
moon.
That
It's at
now you
midnight.
explained it. Yeah,
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 yeah. Anyway, see, it's a little. If you don't know the tropes, you probably won't
yeah.
really know much about that one.
I have that knowledge. Is there a card called High Noon too?
There is.
Yeah.
It should really be called High Moon, honestly.
Yeah. Anyways, whatever.
Whatever. I guess
And
that'll be.
and it should basically be a Blood Moon reprint. That's what they should have done. But,
Ooh, High Moon.
yeah.
You could only tap your mana if you pick them up.
Yeah.
All right. So
Any
we are
lands tapped left do not produce.
do not prove it. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny because I tap all my lands to the right anyway, so that's great. Um, anyway, we are in the dueling arena, and Kellen is standing in the middle. He looks over to Oko, and Oko is not paying him any attention.
Not even looking.
No,
He's
Kellen's
just like fiddling with
yeah,
his
yeah. He's like looking.
breastplate.
He's looking down at his armor, and so Oko was using an illusion for most of his disguise, but he did decide to wear an actual like I don't know chest plate and like I guess he had like bones.
It's like a
Around him.
bone armor. I'm imagining like a barbarian. These
Yeah,
Hellspurs are kind of like barbarians. They would build armor out of the bones of hopefully not each other, but whatever
yeah.
the like
Whoever they
animals they've killed or
Yeah,
whatever.
of course. And Oko's
So,
looking down, and he's like, "Oh shit, one of my bones fell off."
yeah. And so apparently that part was real and not illusion. And Kellen was like,
Mhm.
why would he make that part real and not?
Huh. So weird. Also made so shittily. Huh.
Yeah.
He's also really sad because he's like, I'm doing all of this to save my dad, and he won't even look at me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. It's a lot of that.
Yes. A cool comes out, and the crowd cheers and is so excited for him. It also seems like, well, they start into the fight.
Yeah.
And obviously, Akul is a giant scorpion guy, so he's going to try to sting Kellen as much as he can. Kellen's jumping around, and then it looks like Akul is like going to burp or something, and it turns out that he can shoot thunder out of his mouth, which is pretty cool, honestly. But it also makes sense because he's a dragon, I guess. So like,
Yeah, I guess that's what dragons do in Thunder Junction. Is
yeah, they shoot thunder instead
their
of
breath
fire.
weapon is thunder. For
Yeah.
those D&D nerds out there,
Yeah,
I think that's right. I don't actually know, but that was like the breath weapon was the thing on all the D&D dragons
gotcha.
in
Yeah, I don't know how many d6 you roll for that.
Adventures of
But
the Forgotten Realms.
yeah,
But anyway, obviously the scorpion tail. And so this is the classic fight that we've all seen before where the hero's just constantly on the back foot and feels like they can't catch their breath because the enemy is just like too
big
fast
and strong.
strong
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and is just kind of toying with them and laughing. Oh, ha, 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 you are weak. And Kellen will like blast him with magic and it just doesn't matter because it bounces right off his scales and Kellen tried to do his whip thing that he did on his Spider-Man move that he did on the train, Ukul
Hmm.
just like slashes it with his tail and just breaks it. And it's not looking good for
Mm-mm.
our 11-year-old hero.
Yeah, our 21-year-old hero is having a hard time. Uh, but then all of a sudden, something swells inside Kellen. Some sort of unknown magic that he hasn't really felt before and hasn't really experienced. And it's something about the fact he basically is about to die. You know, there's a bunch of stuff going around, and he thinks like, "How am I going to get out of this?" And he's
Yeah.
thinking, "If I can't survive this fight, because obviously this is a duel to the death." Because Kellen tried to make a joke like, "Okay, so first blood or whatever," and they're like,
Yeah.
"Sorry, we duel to the
No.
death here. Fuck
Yeah, what
you."
are you talking about?
Um, Kellen is getting really sad, thinking that he will never know his father, and also that his father will never know him. And that is such a sad feeling for him. Daddy issues. But
Mhm.
also, that's a legitimate feeling.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
That would
And
be
and also he spent a lot of time, like he spent like four magic sets trying to find his dad.
yeah,
And the
which is
fact that
a completely indeterminate amount of time. It could be anywhere
yeah,
from 12 years to
to
two.
2 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Or yeah. But like it is it is just a really sad thing. And so because of all those feelings and everything that's happening, he doesn't like his spark doesn't ignite or something like that. But he does have some sort of magic that he's unaware that he has the power for, and he kind of blasts a cool with it, and he's able to like go into a cool and find his soul, basically. No, no, not yet, not yet. He can't find his soul yet. He can just go into a cool and he can hypnotize him. That's what he can do.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was he like charming him kind of thing or like,
Basically,
yeah.
it's kind of like it felt like if you're ever in a game where you can like shoot love powers at people, it was kind of like that, where he
Mhm.
kind of was able to hit a cool and stun him in
And then
this.
Aku's just like sitting there turning his
Yeah,
head around,
but
letting
also
him
there's like the
sing.
Tweety birds going around,
Exactly,
or
yeah.
little hearts kind of like cracking open, and his eyes are like hearts too, um, kind of like that. And that was enough for him to put his lasso around his neck. Um,
Starts strangling him like,
yeah,
dude, Kellen, whoa. Where did
it's
this
a
come from?
it's a fight to the death. All right.
Yeah.
Um, but Cool is able to snap out of it, gets to move around a bit. But then, right when his claw is up and he's about to stab Kellen right in his chest, Thunder hits his back. And he turns around, and there's just an army of mercenaries led by Ral Zarek there and the Sterling Company. And this is the moment where I realized that mercenaries and outlaws are not the same.
Yeah. Even
Uh,
though Bertram is clearly very questionable morality and downright criminal,
mhm,
um, these are not, they're a different kind of criminal, I guess.
mhm,
And in some sense, they kind of play the role of the police or the cowboys in this
essentially.
story.
Yeah.
Maybe that is what it's supposed to be, like cowboys. Like we're not totally good guys, but we're better than you.
Yeah. So, or that we live by more rules, I guess.
Yeah,
Anyway, within the
just
eyes of the
organized.
law,
Yeah, we have
yeah,
money. I don't know what it
organized
is, but yeah.
crime. Uh, anyway, panic ensues. Everything breaks up. The duel is now over, and it's time to just fight. Basically, a war is kind of what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, Kellen looks over to see Oko, and all the bones that are falling off of him turn out to be tiny bones.
What?
What? Tiny Bones pops up. He pulls a key out of his thing, or makes a key out of his bones, or does something. Whatever he does, he unlocks all of our prisoners, which is Oko, Vraska, and Annie. And now they're free. Thank God. So it does turn out that Oko had a plan the entire time
Hmm.
to be freed. And that was obviously really distressing to Kellen, being like, wait, I thought I was the one who was trying to save the day for everybody, and you had something up your sleeve this whole time.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? I almost died.
And Ogo's like, kid, shut up, get the key.
Yeah, get the key. And Kellen's like, wait, what? He's like, I don't have the key. He's like, there, the medallion. And he looks down, and the key, the six pieces in the medallion, is laying on the ground. Which also, to be fair, the ground is like cracked with lava and stuff. There's steam shooting out all over the place. Um, Kellen grabs it, and Oko's like, just throw it over to me, and I'll be able to take it back to the place. Kellen does that for whatever reason. Just give it straight to the, dad, I guess. I guess this is where he plays catch for the first time with his dad. That's cute.
Aw,
Yeah.
yeah.
I never thought about that. um, so he throws it over to Oko. Opal grabs it, and a bunch of things are happening. But as Kellen's trying to jump out of the arena, there's a few blasts, and he gets pushed back into it. While there's outlaws and a bunch of stuff happening, and Oko looks back at him, looks at him, and bolts.
Yep. Yep.
And then Kellen blacks out.
At this point, I was just like, Kellen, if you get there and he says, I knew you could handle it, and you fall for it again, at this point, it's on you, man. Like, yeah,
Absolutely,
this is
absolutely.
the
This is
classic fool me once, kind of moment.
yeah.
So,
It just is too much. We are now back at the saloon with Annie and Vraska, and they're furious at Oko, obviously, because they also didn't know the plan. They're like, if you had a plan where we were supposed to get captured, and then Tiny Bones was going to help us get out of it, why didn't you tell us? And he's like, well, obviously, I didn't want any of you to know, because if you knew, you'd give it away. I'm a really
yeah,
good actor. The rest of you are
you
awful.
guys are brutal.
I went to your show.
Yeah.
Let me just say I was not impressed.
And then they're all
Um,
like, "Why'd you tell Tiny Bones? Like he doesn't speak English, man.
yeah. He just has a bunch of clicks and like
Couldn't
bone
tell anyone if
clicks.
he wanted to."
Yeah. Or he could, because apparently Rakdos speaks Tiny Bones.
Yeah,
Um,
Rakdos is the Tiny Bones translator.
mhm. He also reveals that the reason he brought Kellen at all was because he knew Kellen would get found out because he doesn't look
Yeah.
like an outlaw in the slightest. And then they would obviously be captured, and everything went according to his plan. He's like, we got the key just like I wanted. We found it because I brought the other key,
Yeah.
and we're all free now.
He
What's
was
wrong?
basically like, "I didn't tell you because you are shitty actors. But if
Hmm.
it makes you feel better, the only reason I brought Kellen is because he's an even worse actor than you."
Hmm.
And
Because he's 9.
yeah, because he is 3 years old.
He's an actual toddler baby.
Yeah.
Um, Annie's just saying, "Hey, we have to go back to get Kellen. Like, there's no way we can leave him behind." And Oko's just like, "You can't fucking go back there. Are you kidding? Like, there's no
Yeah.
like, it is a war zone. You want to die? Also, we don't have time. We have the key. We know where we're going. We have to go open the vault before anyone else can." Because inside the vault is a bunch of super magical powers and a bunch of stuff and our payday. So that's what we're here to do. And anything that jeopardizes that mission isn't worth it, including Kellen.
Mhm.
Annie says, fine. But right after we go to get Kellen. And he's like, oh, of course. Right.
Ah, sure,
Of
just
course we
like the people
will.
on the
Yeah,
train.
we just have to go to the vault really quickly, and then, of course, the most important thing is making sure that the rest of the team is safe, which I will do after we have finished the plan.
Yeah. You want to get paid, don't you?
Yeah. So that is the new plan for them. Kellen wakes up in a prison car of Bertram Greywater's. So he's basically where Nolan was,
Mhm.
essentially. And who happens to show up but Ral Zarek?
Mr. Zarek himself.
Hmm. Um, and it seems as though Ral wants to let Kellen free. And Kellen's like, that's really weird. I kind of betrayed you. Do you
He's
remember
like,
that?
"Do you remember I betrayed you. I'm the one that betrayed you. You remember,
Hmm.
right?" I was like, "Yes, yes."
He's like, but I actually don't give a shit about this whole vault thing. I got my own omen path thing going on, so I'm not really interested in this. And I want to make sure that nobody gets their hands on any magical powers, because magical powers and magical items sounds really bad to me.
Yeah.
I want to go open the vault, take all that stuff, and hide it somewhere else,
Yeah.
because that would be much better. All the people who are trying to get it seem pretty shitty. Let's take the magical items, not use them, and make sure that no one can ever get them ever again. Kellen's like, you know what? I like you. That sounds very heroic. I want to do a heroic thing, and I want
Yeah.
people to think that I'm a good guy. That's what Kellen's
And I
like.
liked that he was on board with, like, it is not a good idea for whatever is in that vault for your dad to have it
Hmm.
because he
Yeah,
sucks.
he fucking sucks, bro. And Kellen's like, sweet. So now we are finishing episode 5. We have 4 different groups of people trying to get to the vault. Um, I guess it ends up really it's just 3, but like
Yeah, one of them
technically,
doesn't really,
one of them
you
doesn't
know,
really matter. The one that doesn't really matter is the Sterling Company because
yeah,
Ral technically was high heading
fuck
that.
Bertram.
So Ral has then left them behind. But we have Oko's crew, Akul and the Hellspurs, and then Ral and Kellen are the 3 main ones, with the Sterling Company kind of being not guided anymore because we never actually see Greywater in the story. He doesn't pop up. We just talk about him all the time.
Thankfully, he wouldn't show his face around
Yeah,
us.
I guess I also probably mention him a lot more because I hate him.
Yeah.
I hate him with every fiber of my being. With that being said, Jeff, we have another episode to get into, but before we do that, do you think we should go on a beer break?
I think we should. I think we
Okay,
must.
we must. We have the finale of our story here, but we got to take a quick break, grab some more beer, and we will be right back. All right. We're back with another beer, and we are on episode 6, The Ballad of Thieves and Thunder Slingers. So, it is time to go to the vault in the sky. Well, I forgot to mention that the Fomori vault is actually up in the sky above Tarnation. So it seems like it would actually be a really easy place to find because there's a
Yeah.
floating
That
fucking
was the
vault.
part that was like, oh, they look at the map, they're like, oh, it's in the sky. I'm like, does no one look up ever? Like,
Their magic has to be involved, obviously,
or it's like
obviously.
foggy, you just can't
Or
see
like
it.
so windy and
Yeah.
there's like sand everywhere. Um anyway,
But yeah, that's
Oko
why nobody's ever found it. I'm like,
yeah.
that explained why nobody's ever found it.
Oko's entire crew minus Kellen, so back to 13, all right?
There we go.
Are
Yeah.
headed up to the vault in the sky. And there happen to be a bunch of, like a series of different puzzles that are similar to video games you may have played. So
Yeah.
it's like one of them is like there are 2 different levers and they're on different places. So basically, like the only person that can get to one of the levers is Tiny Bones. But there's also this thing where like Umezawa pulls out like a drone that Annie has to like navigate to show Tiny Bones where to jump to get to the lever for some reason. It
Yes.
felt so video game to me,
Yeah, it was very video game.
where you're like, you are Annie, and you're like, Tiny Bones, jump over to this thing so you can get over to this lever. And Tiny Bones only follows the dragonfly. Um, it just was throwing me back to like Spyro days and stuff like that.
See, I was
Um,
thinking like, I mean, I don't want to use any intellectual property on this podcast. I don't want to get sued. But like a certain game that might remind like it, let's just say it rhymes with Regent of Schmelda.
oh yeah,
Um, it was very much a temple in those kind of games
yeah,
type
for sure.
vibe.
Hmm.
Um, which
So
is cool. Like I liked that.
yeah, totally. I
You
mean,
know.
it totally fits the whole vibe of all the stuff. It was just like, I mean, it is nice that it's like we do need some extra stuff to happen, but make sure we press the lever at the same time. Clunk. All right, cool. We're good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Done. Nice.
It also opens a door, which we go down into this other cavern, and it looks like there's a door that is protected by a ward. Finally, Karavek can do something because we
Perfect.
need someone to open the door. We need the ward to be dismantled, so Karavek gets started. So as he gets started, um, the Hellspurs show up and there is a big brawl again because it's like, oh shit, we got here first, but you're also here. We have the key. Whoever essentially gets the key gets to the jewels or blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And now Jeff, the next thing happens with Rakdos, which is probably the only thing he's done the entire story. But
Yeah. So when Akul and his gang shows up, Rakdos is basically just like, finally, some fun. And he fights Akul.
he does.
And it's so like big scorpion dragon, versus big
Big
demon with
demon.
a scythe
Hmm.
and wearing a cowboy hat. Forgot about that part.
Yeah, you can't forget
And
that part. They're both wearing cowboy hats.
and I was like, no, us Rakdos need to stick together. And Rakdos is probably at some point like, dude, your entire color pair is named after me. What are you doing
Hmm.
fighting me? But they don't show the full details of that fight, but that's just what I
They,
imagine
yeah,
happened.
yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
really don't. It just seems like a big monster fight, and
Mhm.
then we don't really have to worry about that very much again.
Yeah,
Um,
but this is part of where you're talking, about Rakdos as the comic relief. He's just always speaking in all caps, and
yeah,
it's just like, finally, some fun like I was promised. Ha ha ha. And fights are cool.
yeah. You're like sick, sweet. Thanks for getting rid of a cool for us.
Yeah.
Um, as the ward drops, Vraska and Oko race to the vault as everyone else is trying to stop them. And as they are trying to open the vault, Kellen and Ral intervene. A fight breaks out, and that brings us to story spotlight number 5. Jeff.
Betrayal at the Vault. You play enough limited, you've gotten absolutely obliterated by this card at least once. Betrayal
Hmm.
at the Vault is 4 green for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each of 2 other target creatures. Yes, you heard me. Instant. Yowza.
Yeah, and it doesn't even fight; it just
Yeah,
shoots.
it's
It just
just a
bites.
bite.
It does cost 6 mana though, but when it's played, it is the game basically.
Yeah, yeah, almost always.
Yeah. Um.
My favorite way and basically only way for beating Bonnie Paul is to immediately have this.
Basically,
Then
that's
they're only up 1 card.
mhm. If you have a creature big enough to kill both of those things.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of caveats.
You like need it to be on turn 6. They don't get a land anywhere, and you have a Cactarantula. Like that's basically all the things that you need to happen. Um,
Ankle biter, baby.
oh, okay. Sorry, ankle biter. That's true. That's true. You can ankle biter it. That's good. Um, yeah. Use your 6 mana removal spell with your 1 mana creature. I like it. Um, anyway, uh, we now have all of them fighting together. Basically, it's like uh, we have Ral and Vraska, and then Kellen and Oko are fighting against each other, just trying
Right.
to see who could basically get into the vault. Annie joins in from the outside to try to come to their aid, but as she's trying to, join in on the fight, all 3 of them, Ral, Annie, and Kellen, are attacked by nightmares, and they're trying to, rip off whatever nightmares they're having. They fall to the floor, and they're being tortured because
That's
Ashiok
weird.
is there.
Oh, of course.
Right. Ashiok floats by, and they go to the
I
vault.
forgot they were in this story.
Yeah, with Vraska. I guess Oko is also one of the people who has nightmares, which is during this process. Which is kind of strange because you would think that Ashiok would want Oko to help open the vault. Hmm, very
Odd.
strange, very odd.
Uh,
But Ashiok glides over to the vault with Vraska and then reveals themselves to be Jace. So obviously, this would have been a huge shock if we didn't know the card Jace the Reawakened, and we had the picture of him as Ashiok and all the stuff. But that's a pretty good that's a pretty good twist if you hadn't seen the card.
Yeah. I liked it because, I mean, we'll get more into that later, but
Hmm.
uh,
There's
we
good
knew Jace
clues.
was
There's
kind
good
of
clues.
in. There were clues to Jace being around in all of the previous stories,
Hmm.
but it wasn't always clear why
Hmm.
and who he's serving. Was he still a Phyrexian? Like, is he the last remaining Phyrexian? Like, all that kind of stuff. Because you remember, Jace was Phyrexian.
Hmm.
And Jace and Vraska were lovers.
Yeah, they are.
And now we're seeing that they were aligned the whole time, and neither of them is complete.
Yeah. Um, though Annie can see through Jace's illusion now, which is weird. So Annie has a golden eye, was given to her by an angel. I forgot to mention that before. And she can see through illusions, and the whole point is that she could see through the jail doors or whatever. However, she couldn't see through Ashiok's illusion that Jace was putting up. Annie just saw Ashiok.
Jace is
However,
just that good.
there's actually, we will get into why that is probably why it actually makes sense. Because yes, it doesn't make sense that Jace is just that good. Because now that Jace has dropped the Ashiok thing, Annie can see through that illusion because Jace is putting up another illusion that makes him look really handsome. It's actually, she can see all the. It's basically like he's in the Matrix and he has a bunch of holes on his body where
Right.
he was like part of the
Where the
Matrix.
wires were,
Yeah,
yeah,
part of his
coming out of
body.
his body. Yeah.
Um, and so she can see that. Anyway, Jace and Vraska open up the vault to reveal the treasure. Finally, we're at the Fomori vault.
Well,
We're
they
gonna
revealed
do
the loot that they've been after the whole time.
exactly. We're trying to figure out exactly what it is. Is it like a big dinosaur? Maybe a cool sword? Maybe
Mhm.
there's some sort of ancient artifact or something. And Jeff, it turns out it's a little baby. It's like a little Digimon baby.
Yep, pretty much. Little furry.
It has like orange fur and little horns,
Yeah.
and it's a baby. Um,
Huh.
yeah, Oko tries to protest and be like, "No, you can't take the loot away from us," and
Or
all
like, we
that.
still need to get paid.
Yeah, for all this. And as he does that, Vraska just starts turning him to stone, just straight
Yep.
up. Now it's time to turn that on because Vraska can do that whenever the fuck she wants. And the fact
Yes.
that Vraska was like captured and didn't turn a cool to stone was kind of weird to me, but you know, um, I guess she just saves that for like really important moments, like now.
Maybe a
Uh,
cool was using a mirror the whole time.
maybe. Ha 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 ha. As Oko can feel the stone take over his legs and go up his waist, he planeswalks away before it can take hold of him completely and saves himself.
Convenient.
Very convenient. But you know, the definitely the emergency oh fuck button for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Not the first time we've seen it. Won't be the
Nope,
last.
won't be the last. It's a good way to make it feel like Vraska will kill you, but doesn't.
Mhm.
Because you know usually it just happens in an instant. But anyway, Kellen wakes up from his scary slumber dreams. And rushes over to help an unconscious Annie, and while he does that, Jace and Vraska and the baby Digimon planeswalk away, gone. Now, while it's just Kellen and Annie, the ceiling starts to collapse, and they have to get the fuck out of this vault. Don't really check to see if there's anything else but just the baby in there, but I'm assuming nothing else was in there. Uh,
I mean,
no,
Callan probably doesn't care.
he doesn't
And
really
Annie
care.
didn't really care either, right? So
That's true.
I feel like it makes sense that they wouldn't go check. They'd just be like, let's get out of here.
I want to know, Jeff. I want
Yeah.
to know what else is in the vault.
They're like, you know
Do it
what?
for
Do you care
me.
about the treasure? No, I don't care about
Yeah.
the treasure.
Okay.
But you know what? Our reader might care about the treasure. Let's go
Yeah.
check.
Let's go check.
Yeah.
They are leaving. Ral is also there as well. They all shoot out, and basically they get to the outside. The Hellspurs are kind of gone, and it's just the rest of the team. And Oko's like, "Oh my god, the ceiling's collapsing. We have to get the fuck out of here." And they're like, "Okay, cool." And so they're all jumping off of the sky vault in different ways. Most of them are just jumping on the back of Rakdos, which he makes a comment about. This will be the last time anyone ever rides him,
Yeah.
which
Reference to
is
Gideon.
yeah, reference to Gideon and Tiny Bones riding him and stuff. Um, also, just like I don't know, Rakdos, like, come on, you're like a orgy demon.
Huh.
You fuck. Like
Yeah, I
everybody. Come on,
feel
buddy.
like that's part of the job description
There's
as
a
an
lot of
orgy
people.
demon.
Yeah,
Is,
you've been writing a lot of people.
yeah,
A lot of people write to you. Like, come on,
yeah.
buddy.
Come on,
Come
who
on.
you kidding?
Yeah, I
Um,
see through your
but
illusion.
also he did win the fight with Akul.
Hmm.
You come out and it says Akul is defeated and Rakdos is victorious, which I thought meant Akul was dead, but
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out it's not.
mm-mm.
As Rakdos goes away with the rest of the crew, Ral Zarek jumps off and just does his like lightning powers, saying, "Kellen, I'll see you soon. I will be around, but just don't wait up."
I'm
And
imagining him like, have you ever seen those videos of the people with the water jets?
oh
I should
yeah,
just like that's what he's doing, but with
it just
lightning. It's
kind
like,
of
see you later, and then slowly like glides
moves.
away,
Yeah,
and then it's lightning.
he kind of has like the Iron Man pose where he has to stand like this the whole
Yeah.
time, or he will fall over. Um, Probably looks a little bit cooler. He's like this. I don't know. Is
Yeah, I
that
guess it
that
doesn't have to
maybe
be straight down. You
is that
can,
cool? I don't know if that's
yeah.
cool. Anyway, uh, Kellen decides that he's going to uh, fly Annie down. Very kind of cutesy. It's like, hey, buddy, what's going on here? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Hmm.
you already have a girlfriend, pal, which
Yeah,
most of you forgot about, but
yeah. I didn't.
yeah,
Also, buddy, you're like 13. She's like 45. Come on.
yeah,
Weird.
inappropriate.
I'm watching you, Kellen.
I don't remember how old Amalia is, but hopefully
I also
also
don't know.
11.
Yeah, no, she's probably like 311.
Yeah,
Yeah,
614
she's a
and counting.
vampire.
Yeah.
um
Why does everyone always talk about our age difference? I'm only 6 centuries older.
as they're flying out to get away from the whole vault, we have to have our last ditch efforts to try to scare you.
Yeah.
This is the moment in Alien where the alien's still alive in the pod and she has to push it out in the bottom, or sorry, in back into space. This is one of the things that I listened to a movie podcast that literally talks about this moment was born during Aliens or Alien and has been ruining Hollywood ever since. The
Okay. Yeah.
last chance to get you and then I don't get you kind of thing.
Hmm.
So Akul does like a I'm dead but not really dead. I'm gonna
JK,
grab you.
Rakdos for some reason spared me, I guess.
Yeah. So he kind of jumps out. He like wakes up. It happens in Scream. It happens a little like every horror movie. Um, grabs Annie by the torso. We think she could get snapped in half really easily. And Kellen goes full explosion magic. Basically, there's a moment where Oko told him like, "Hey, just remember our bloodline is really strong."
Hmm.
And Kellen fully embodies it and he's like, "Hey, even though my dad's an asshole, I'm really powerful." And then is able to use that magic and fully take control and go into Akul's soul and force him to walk back into the collapsing building. That's what Kellen decides to do. And
Yeah.
Akul just
Oof,
walks in
savage, Kellen.
and basically Akul kills himself with
Yeah.
the walls collapsing on top of him.
The brutal part of this was like Kellen could feel that there's some part of Akul's mind that knows what's happening, but he's doing it anyways. I was like,
Hmm.
oh damn, savage.
Yikes. Uh, Kellen and Annie float to safety and they are happy. Oko Plains walks back to the saloon. He doesn't have any stone on him anymore, and the rest of the folks that were around who aren't part of the random folks that left are there. Breaches and Malcolm flew away because Vraska was there, the only reason they were there in the first place. So they are gone. Kellen and Annie are gone. Ashiok, Jace, and Vraska are gone. So it's really just everybody else. And kind of Oko goes around being like, "Hey, sorry." They're like, "Dude, we didn't get fucking paid. Like,
Yeah.
we did a lot of work."
Oko's like, yeah, well, I didn't get paid either. Like I was hoodwinked just as much as you, so it's not my fault.
Hmm. And they're like, "Well, you owe us," but they all kind of leave on like fine terms. Like they're totally fine.
Yeah.
And Oko's like, "Hey, well, because they're asking basically like, let's go after Jace and Vraska, let's go get the thing. And he's like, they're gone, man. Like, we can't
Yeah.
find them. They're disappeared. Like, we will
Don't worry,
find
we
them.
will get our revenge, but
Mhm,
we can't right now.
exactly. And so he just says, when I find them, we'll get back together. Heist 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
My favorite part is Satoru. I think it was Satoru.
Hmm.
Is like, fine, but next time my fee is tripled. I'm like, dude, you got zero. Like, fucking dumbass. Like, you
Oko's
just,
like, deal.
yeah. You know what 3 times 0 is, right?
Not all of us are math doctors,
Yeah.
Jeff.
I'm sorry. I just
Yeah.
assume, level of understanding that I don't know what they teach in Kamigawa, to be fair.
Yeah,
They
that's
could
true.
just build these robots that can
Do all of it
unlock
for you.
saves, but maybe they
If you
don't
don't know
know.
anything else.
Yeah.
Um, we now so the entire band disperses. Everyone planes or doesn't planeswalk away. They all walk to an Omen port,
Yeah.
which is so embarrassing.
They're like, are you going? Do you think we could hitch a cab together? Like, it's kind
Yeah.
of awkward, but
Could we take the train?
save money. Yeah.
And then they're just like, no, fucking breaches blew up
Yeah.
the
Do you remember
tracks.
there's not a bridge anymore?
Hmm.
So yeah.
We got to walk. We flash forward. It's 2 weeks later, and Kellen is working on Annie's ranch. Annie has a ranch. I guess I didn't realize that her like house in Saddlebrush was like a full on ranch, but that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, but it also lends credence to the like, it was pretty fucking easy to find you. You own a
Hmm.
big ass like ranch out
Plot
in
of land.
Saddlebrush.
Though
Like,
to
yeah.
to be fair, like one house in the random fucking wherever town, like who knows? Um, like if Anyway,
If you
um,
could fly, like maybe you were some sort of scorpion dragon,
that's
sure, it'd
true.
be pretty easy. But
Uh, Ral shows up and he walks over and says there's no sign of Jace or Vraska to Kellen, as Kellen's just finishing throwing the hay bales into the barn. But he also offers Kellen a job on Ravnica, saying, hey, there's always a job if you need one. Like, come on over. You can get out of this fucking dusty ass place. And Kellen says, you know what? I've been moving around a lot, and I think I just want to stay in one place for a little bit. Plus, I have someone who's meeting me here. And Ral's like, that's fine. Also, is that sweet potato pie?
yeah, that part was so random.
And basically, he can smell that Annie's making a pie, so he runs over to eat some of the pie, I guess.
And there's such like cheesy dialogue of
Hmm.
like, do you think she'll let me have some? Like, I bet she'll put you to work making fences first.
Yeah.
It's like, for pie, I'd build her
Uh,
a machine that builds
yeah,
fences. And I'm
yeah,
just like, okay, well,
yeah.
not sure why this
So,
part was here,
well,
but
we almost got through the entire Magic story without something dorky like that, but we
yeah,
had to have
we
one,
had to just sneak it in right at
Yeah,
the end.
right at
Yeah.
the end. So I'm okay with it. It almost is like a dream sequence because on a lone horse, just then, we look out and we see a really attractive looking 611-year-old vampire there,
Yeah.
just strolling on down with the
With a
parasol.
yeah,
Yeah,
a parasol and like full clothing despite the intense heat and sun. Um,
yeah. But it's a vampire. They don't like sweat or feel things.
yeah. And so Amalia shows up, gives Kellen a hug, and they do their awkward, you know, child to extremely old being communication of like, I missed you, etc. And then she talks about, because Amalia, for those who may not remember, has this weird like map ability. She loves mapping stuff out, but she can also like change her map to change the actual uh geography
Yeah,
of the
of the
location, which is
wherever
like
you
one
are.
of the most busted power. Like Oko could have replaced at least 6 teammates with Amalia. It's like
Yeah.
you don't need breaches and Gisa to
Mhm.
like do this whole zombie bridge blow up. You just
Though I guess to be fair, would Amalia do it? Because she was part of another evil team that she didn't like. So
yeah,
then
she
she just
probably
didn't
wouldn't.
help them.
But I just mean in theory, her power is so
Mhm.
much better than all of these individual
Then
powers for all these like 14 people that we've
it's
seen.
true.
It's like
It's true.
basically just like Amalia and like creative enough plan maker, you got yourself a heist team.
It's true.
Uh, but
But
she's excited to start mapping out Thunder Junction.
and that is the end of our story.
And that, my friends, is why Kellen's card does not have an adventure in this
hmm
set. He's
Because
done adventuring.
that's right. He is settling down with a girl and his 45-year-old friend
Yeah.
and her beast. And I
And
guess,
everyone in this situation has an ambiguous age, but it's
mhm,
definitely weird.
yeah. Um, are they like all banging?
I mean, one can only assume.
Yeah. Hopefully, Fortune gets in there too.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, whatever. It's been late. I've been drinking lots of beers.
Let's move on from that. Yeah.
Let's move on from that. Jeff, I would like to say this is the end of the story, but it is not.
It is it is far from the end somehow.
Okay, we have three epilogue, or three, sorry,
I was
two
like, holy
epilogue,
shit, did I miss one?
two epilogue chapters left.
It's like, oh man, this is
Um,
gonna be super weird when you just tell me what happened in the third one.
there are there are some things that we're missing, and we are trying to figure those things out. So this is helpful information about like basically Jace and Vraska. What have they been up to for the last year?
Yes, it explains that part. Like, why did
Yes.
they do this? How are they not complete? What
hmm
were the clues, that we're seeing on other things?
Yeah.
Was it really them, etc.?
So this next bit is not mandatory, but obviously none of this is mandatory. So like, just strap in.
Yeah,
Let's just
you
jive.
do you.
Just we're gonna jump in. Epilogue number one. Bring the End, part one. This is by Allison Lures. All right, so we immediately pick up with Jace as he's holding the Silex during March of the Machine, trying to blow up the entire multiverse. We are 1 year ago in our time as far as like humans on Earth playing Magic. And he's being completed as the Silex is in his hands. A lot of the story is basically in his mind. So it's a lot of him trying to fight off the completion process as it's happening and kind of going in and out, not necessarily of consciousness, but like into different parts of his brain and out of it. Being able to not control his body and then control his body can get kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. One thing that just jumps out to me was I don't understand why this isn't called Bring the Ending to match the card of Jace
Mm,
blowing up everything with the Silex. They decided to call it something extremely similar, but not quite the same. That was, I felt like an odd choice. And but sure, I
hmm
did like the reference to, hey, last time we saw Jace, he was blowing the world up with the Silex. We made a card out of it. Um, I feel like it just could have actually matched instead of mostly matched. Uh, but yeah, this part is a lot of him battling with his phyresis and trying to basically just overcome it mentally.
hmm
And he has his own safe spot in his mind that's safe from the oil. And he starts from there and he sort of pops back into existence and is like, or sorry, into the material world, I guess, out of his
hmm
mind into Phyrexia and is like, wait, why aren't I dead? Why isn't everyone dead? And then he looks and there's a sword like through his chest. He's like, that'd be why.
That
That's why.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he looks down and sees that this is the moment where Elspeth plunges deep a Halo sword into his chest. And this is actually the first time where Halo actually is helpful in some way. It does
Right.
seem
So,
like.
I wonder if they
Where,
like retconned this in or because they made such a big deal of Halo and it didn't fucking do anything. So then they were just like, we gotta have Halo do something. I don't know. Maybe it
yeah,
saves Chase.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So it does seem like the Halo is helping him with his phyresis process. In the story, we saw him stand up and like kind of pull it out and like not give a shit about the sword and like it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
And Elishnorn said something to him and he just disappeared. In this story, we find out that what actually happened is that he fell down, but while he was falling, he made an illusion of himself upright to trick everyone and pull the sword out. But what's really happening is he's actually dying on the ground, being like, "Holy fuck, holy
He's
fuck,
like
holy fuck,"
vomiting oil.
and
Yeah.
I'm dying right now, and I don't want anyone else to see me. And so he makes an illusion, which he does often. This is something
Mhm.
Jace does constantly. Like,
Yeah.
if you're ever hanging out with Jace and you see something, probably isn't real. Like,
Yeah.
almost 100%. Like,
Yeah.
Jace
Just
is the reason that everybody thinks that Nicol Bolas is dead, and he's not because he's in the meditation realm or whatever. Because Ugin told Jace to make it look like he died. He didn't actually die. All that stuff. Um, this happens over and over again, which is another trope with Jace, is that things happen over and over again.
right.
So I'm kind of okay with it. Elishnorn tells Jace to go back home, and so Jace decides to planeswalk back to Vryn, which he hasn't been back to in a very long time. When he goes there, this is also the thing that Elishnorn was doing to all of the people who have been completed, was completing their home planes themselves. Right, so Vraska's on Ravnica,
Right. That
Tamio
was
went back to Kamigawa, all the different people were going to their different places. So Jace brought the invasion to Vryn, which fucking sucks.
makes sense. You send the general with the most knowledge of the
Yeah. While
area.
he's there, he basically does exactly what you said, retreats into his mind, into the special place that he feels most safe, which for Jace is an ocean and an island. This specifically harkens back to how he washes up onto the shore on Ixalan the first time he was on Ixalan, and that's when he meets Vraska, and their love is sparked on Ixalan because he has amnesia when
Right.
he's there and doesn't remember who she is and their past. And that's how their entire like love arc starts. So islands specifically and that salty water and that whole kind of vibe is very important to him because of that. Um, Also important to note, just saying while we're on that whole Ixalan Vraska thing, while they were there for a mission against Nicol Bolas, he also made a special meditation realm in Vraska's mind so that she could hide all the secrets that they wanted to keep away from Nicol Bolas, so that Nicol Bolas could not find out that they had plans to fight him. And so that's why both of them have special meditation realms in their minds, but nobody else does. And they are able to use those places to escape Phyresis, which no one else is able to do.
Yeah, it's still infecting their body, but
Mm-hmm.
normally it takes over your mind right away as well, and you become one of the hive mind.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to stop themselves. It's why Jace made the illusion of himself like supporting Elishnorn and being at
Mm-hmm.
Elishnorn's side while actually still being his conscious self, but still having this weird, like oily,
Existence.
wiry
Yeah,
body.
he still has like all the tentacles are coming out of him and all that stuff is like, and it's freaking him out too. He really doesn't like it.
And it's a constant battle for him to
Mm-hmm.
fight off it, even at the mental level as well. It's not like he's just his normal self and, oh, this is a weird thing happening to my body. It's like I'm
Mm-hmm.
also constantly battling the intrusion of this
Yeah.
to take over, to just take over.
And when he's in his like meditation realm or whatever, his happy place, like he can't really control his body necessarily at all. So it's kind of like he goes into this place, then he comes back out, and things are happening or
And
things
he
have happened,
realizes he
and he's
led
like,
an
"Oh shit,
invasion. Like,
yeah,"
yeah,
which he doesn't really know happened. Um, but through this, he is able to kind of convince his body that he is sick, and so he continues to do this meditation where it's like, "You're sick, you're infected, you need to throw up." You like, and it's this isn't supposed to be in your body. Get this out, get this out, get this out. And through that mantra, it helps him kind of expel a good amount of oil for some way. And then he's able to actually gain control of his motor functions again.
yeah.
Um,
Slowly but surely, and he essentially gives himself a fever. Like the idea is, like you said,
mhm,
it starts with the mind, but his body, like his mind can only do the mind thing. What he has to do is send a signal to his body to like send the Essentially, like send the antibodies or whatever
Antibodies, right? His
yeah,
white blood cells to attack the oil, kind of.
right. Let them know that that's an invasion.
Yeah,
Is kind
and
of the idea behind that.
mhm. Which ends up working out enough because he's able to then leave Vryn and planeswalk over to Ravnica to try to find Vraska. Because the most important thing for him is to find Vraska. Where is she? She is his beloved, and he wants to be with her for better or for worse. Whatever's going to happen, he wants to make sure he's close to her. And when he's on Ravnica, he's able, there's a whole invasion happening, but he's able to reach out into the world and hear all everyone's thoughts. And he can hear Vraska somewhere on like a rooftop somewhere. So he's able to do some parkour and jump on convince a drake to fly low enough that he can jump on the drake and it lifts him up and drops him off where she is. And he can grab her and they can planeswalk back to Vryn because he knows a healer over there that will help them.
Hmm.
A healer on Vryn he remembers. This is the first time. Jay, do you want to go ahead? Do you want to
No, I was just going to ask what I think you're about to answer, was just
Mm-hmm.
like how much information do we actually have about Jace's origin story and Vryn? Because as someone who didn't read a lot of the old stuff, I didn't know if this was the stuff that's revealed here is like first time revelation or if it was known stuff.
This is the first time we have ever seen or heard of or thought about Jace's mom, Rana Belair.
Jace's mom has
Who's
got it
got it
going on.
going on? She heals your wounds and she keeps you from being Phyrexian. Anyway, uh,
Classic song.
classic song. Yeah, this is huge. This is big, big news. We have spent time on Vryn in Jace's story. In Magic Origins, that's where we learned about him and some of the things that Jace's mom will talk about in the story, Rana.
Hmm.
She mentions some stuff that happens in that story. Um, but kind of I don't actually, to be fair, I don't remember if we met her back then and I just don't remember her at all.
Right.
But
That's what I
like
wasn't totally sure of.
this
How much of the
feels
stuff they're revealing is actually being revealed or just being revealed to me for the first
this
time.
feels like the first time I've actually had a conversation with his mom.
And I was getting that vibe from the way it was written as well.
Hmm.
Like this is new stuff and it's very cool and it's being introduced in an interesting way where it's like you don't get the whole story, but you get snippets. But
I remember from his story he would talk about working on the mage ring and stuff and talk about his mom, but we didn't really see her or meet her in my
gotcha.
memory because he's more interested in Alhamaret, who is a sphinx. Basically, what happens is he becomes a pupil of Alhamaret and is learning from him. Sphinxes are well known for being not tricky, but like mind masters. And what happens is there's a war that is always waging on Vryn. There's like two different sides. And Alhamaret, what he wanted to do was transfer information or goods and services between the two sides. And he would force Jace to go between them. And each time he would go, Alhamaret would erase Jace's mind and make him do it again. So each time when Jace went, he thought he was doing it for the first time, but it was probably like the 25th time or the 30th time or the 100th time.
Hmm.
And Jace doesn't know. And through that, eventually Jace figures out what is happening, fights off Alhamaret, kills him, in fact. But through that, his spark gets ignited and he loses all his memories and he doesn't know where Vryn is or what it is. And he doesn't get those memories back until Ixalan, I think. So that's very important. But it's one of the jokes that Jace never remembers anything because his mind gets erased all the time. But it's one of those
Yeah.
things where like if you like use a tape and erase a tape over and over again, like it gets weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
Jace's mind isn't weak necessarily, but it's prone to getting erased. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Uh, and the thing is, Jace's mom did not know that he was alive. She thought
Right.
that he died 12 years ago. It was also funny. So we're now moving into epilogue number 2,
Hmm.
which is the second part. But Jace's mom, Rana, thought that he just like he was killed with Alhammaret, and that's it. And so then she split up with his dad. She started having a drinking problem, and just kind of thought the world was awful. And then he just shows up with Vraska in her house, covered in oil and the tentacles, and they're just saying, "Hey, help us not be this anymore, please."
Yeah. Help me not die.
Yeah,
The
and she
thing
does.
that I find interesting, she says like that's what the guard said, or that's what the
Hmm.
like I think it was the guard or the king or whatever, like whatever their system is, that essentially the police or the government
Had
told
said
her
he
that
died.
Jace had died in whatever sort of altercation
Explosion
that
kind of thing.
also killed El Hamret, which would like make total sense. That was his teacher or
Hmm.
whatever. But later, and this isn't a spoiler because it's, we're a few minutes away and it's not that important, but they talk about how Jace has a warrant out. And I'm like, Rana, like, if there's a warrant out for him, don't you think maybe they don't believe that he's dead?
Hmm.
Like, like, I don't understand how these two things are coexisting in this story. Maybe I misinterpreted something, but they're like,
Yeah,
no,
I
you
don't.
can't go outside as himself because there's a warrant out for Jace. Like, they'll arrest him or kill him on sight. So Jace is now, when he goes outside in Vryn, illusioning himself, and it's something Rana tells Vraska that Jace overhears. But it's like, how did you think he was dead? This must be new information that you've now gathered. But like, were your friends not telling you that there was this warrant? I don't understand how that situation could possibly have happened.
I thought I didn't really realize. I didn't hear the warrant part. I was just thinking that he was not supposed to go. Like he was hiding himself because everyone already thought he was dead. So like, if he's been seen, then it would raise suspicions about something.
Yeah, that
Um,
would make sense. But they explicitly mention like there's a warrant out for him. They mentioned it a couple of times. That's why, and I remember it because I was like, this is super weird given that people think he's dead.
Interesting, because I don't remember that. But anyway, let's keep moving on. Um, we're not on Vryn for very long, so that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
We basically say our goodbyes to Mom, and we're going to planeswalk away. Jace and Vraska are fully healed, and it's time to leave. But as they're trying to planeswalk away, this is the moment where we find out that Vraska's spark is gone. Jeff mentioned it earlier in the episode, but it's officially gone. She cannot planeswalk anymore, but Jace can. So this is one of the reasons why they've been separated, and they're trying to do all these shenanigans and all this stuff. They can't just be together all the time because they are different now. And this is heartbreaking for Vraska. It's really sad, actually. She like her entire identity just crumbles. Of being like, if I can't do this thing, then what can I even do? Like, obviously she's a Gorgon, but being a planeswalker is her number one thing. And so that was rough, I
That
think.
would be, yeah. I think this was the one of the cooler ones because when
Hmm.
they've been desparking in this past, they just seem to like roll with it. I know that a couple of times they're like, "Oh, that sucks," or
Hmm.
whatever. But this was the first time where it's like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" And she's like, "Jace,
Hmm.
find my spark. Like,
Yeah,
go in
go
and
in.
get it. Like,
Mhm.
I need that. That's who I am." And then it sort of it doesn't necessarily describe it, but it hints at this process of her coming to terms with it.
Hmm.
And I liked that because it was like, yes, that's what
Yeah,
would realistically happen.
yeah, and how freaky and scary, and she's crying, and like we don't see Vraska cry like ever,
Yeah.
um, and so they have to stay in Vryn. She has to unpack, and they end up hatching a plan. And while they're hatching this plan, we go through a series of flashbacks. So we go to a flashback of 10 years ago, where Jace is on Thunder Junction with Tezzeret, and if you don't know, Jace used to work with Tezzeret for Nicol Bolas, and that's the reason Jace has all the different marks on his arm because Tezzeret uh, cut them into his skin. A big reason why we don't like Tezzeret because he's a fucking asshole. But
That's
yeah, um, but we do go to the Fulmori Vault on Thunder Junction 10 years ago, and Jace can feel inside of the vault a living being, some sort of presence that's kind of dormant. That's the first time he thinks of this whole thing. He explains it to Tezzeret. Tezzeret says, "That's fucking stupid. What are you talking
He's like,
about?"
wait, the thing inside the vault's like a little baby? I don't give
He's
a shit.
like, "I don't think that's a fucking Digimon baby. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Get out of here."
Yeah, wait, it's not treasure? All right, fuck off.
Yeah. 2 years ago, after the War of the Spark, Jace is talking to Tamio about this thing that he had seen at one point on Thunder Junction. Tamio's like, "Oh yeah, there's a bunch of those. They're fucking all over the place. Yeah, they got a bunch of treasures and stuff." Uh,
There's
Sick.
so many Digimon babies, Jace. How are
Yeah.
you just I can't believe you don't even know about that.
Each one has an individual different Digimon.
Yeah.
We got to go find them all. 1 year ago on Eldraine, Jace planeswalks there, and this is the first time that he decides that he will take up the illusion of Ashiok. So he's met Ashiok once, but thinks he can swing it, and starts to play the part, and really, this is full actor. He's going method on this one, just
Yeah.
feeling like I'm just gonna dive right
And
in.
I love the like allusion to him practicing with Vraska in like his mom's house, and
Hmm.
she's just like not creepy enough. It's like, all right, fine, I'll walk creepier.
Yeah.
Like,
So he's doing some of that, and also trying to lean into the times where he's felt that people thought that he was a monster, and leaning into trying to be a monster.
yeah,
Um, which
he's
classic
got to be
actor.
careful with that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
man. Like, yeah,
that's true. But he goes and he meets up with Ariette for the first time. So this is proof that the Ashiok that was in Wilds of Eldraine is Jace, which
yeah.
means we have two Jaces that are. I mean, like, I guess we have three Jaces that are
Three Jaces in standard.
in standard. Yeah. Um, Now we are 6 months ago. Vraska's on Ixalan, and she recruits Malcolm and Breaches for the mission. They walk through an open path straight from Ixalan to Thunder Junction. And 1 month ago, this one is one that we kind of knew, but also weren't 100%, but like kind of. Like, well, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I
yeah.
did this.
I was like
We knew.
waiting for them to tell me about this part because it was
Hmm.
like everyone spotted that in the
Yeah.
story. Like, yeah,
This is when Jace invades Proph's mine while he's in Golgari territory. And he like steals something from his bookshelf, and he runs away, and Prof runs after him. And we were like, who could steal something from a mind person in their mind? Sounds like a
right.
Jace thing to
He
me.
stole something from Prof's Mind Palace, right?
Hmm. This is another period of time to remind you that Ashiok on the train was doing the telekinetic thing. Obviously, it's Jace, but those are all Jace things.
The impressive thing was that Ashiok did a very Ashiok thing in the vault of making everyone
Yes.
have a nightmare. And I
Hmm.
was like, so Jace is
Learning.
giving everyone a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. And learned how to do that. Maybe he spent enough time being Ashiok that he was practicing some stuff that he'd never had really practiced before. Could make sense. Um, Also, the thing that he stole from Proft seems to be part of how Proft uses his magic to show what had happened previously. Remember, he does
Hmm.
that thing where he can show us what like happened a couple hours ago.
He does like, yeah, the Sherlock Holmes inside the
Yeah,
mind thing, but he does it externally.
externally.
Yeah.
It seems like that is the power that Jace took. Not that he took and Proft can't use it, but he
Right.
took it as if he
Learned
learned.
he knocked him out and then like studied his brain,
Yeah.
basically.
And so that is probably why the Ashiok illusion can't be seen by Annie as
Mm,
opposed to the Jace one. So he practiced
yeah.
making the Ashiok Annie proof in
That part
case.
I didn't put together. I was just thinking that like, I don't know, Annie's never met either of them. If she just saw Jace there all the time, like, does the writing explicitly deny that
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 she
would be
doesn't just see Jace.
like she would just say that's Ashiok, they're Ashiok and
Right,
like
right, right. You're
why would
meeting
they?
Ashiok and you're like, hey, but
Yeah,
it looks
and
just
it
like
looks like
Jace,
Jace. Yeah,
but like you don't know.
what does she know? Yeah.
But it's also explicitly mentioned that once Ashiok's ness is gone, Annie can see through the Jace illusion and see
Yeah,
all the holes.
that was the part that threw me off in the thing because I was thinking like because I knew from the
Hmm.
card that Ashiok was actually Jace. at first I was like, why can't Annie see this? And I was like, wait, well, she doesn't know who Ashiok and Jace are. Like, well, what's the difference?
Hmm.
It's going to look different to her than to other people in the saloon, but does that matter when she's being
Yeah.
introduced to someone for the first time? And
So
then
then,
later it was like, and then she saw Ashiok for who they
mhm,
truly were. I was like, what?
yeah.
But
See,
I didn't get that
and
that's where it came from.
yeah, and I was thinking the other thing, and I was waiting for like, why couldn't Annie just see straight through the illusion the whole time? And
Yeah.
I think this is their solution. Whether it's a good solution or not, I don't know. But I think this is what it is.
It
Um,
feels so odd for Jace to deem this critical, though. Like he can already do illusions. He then tracks down Prof because I was like, why? What did he steal from Prof? Why did he need Prof?
yeah,
And so I guess this makes sense, but why would he have the foresight to think, what if somebody can see through illusions, but not through Prof's magic? I better knock him
yeah.
out and steal that ability just in
I mean,
case.
like, I don't know if he went to Thunder Junction, heard about Annie, and was like, "Oh shit, maybe I should figure this
Maybe,
out."
yeah, because he does know his end state is Thunder Junction, I
Hmm.
guess, and Annie Flash
And
was
Annie
quite famous
lives there.
there.
Yeah, is possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are back in the present Thunder Junction. Jace and Vraska have just left with their new child.
Yeah.
And
Most convoluted adoption process of all time. But
mhm. um, I very much like there's a moment earlier where Jace and Vraska are talking about children before they do this.
I liked this as
And
well, yeah.
and they kind of have a moment of like, oh, could we should just, and basically Vraska's saying like have a baby,
Yeah.
and Jace says adopt,
Yeah.
like just like straight up.
Yeah.
And Vraska's like, yeah, yeah, because I don't know, like we don't know if that could work. Basically, a human man and a Gorgon, if we could have a baby. Is that what they're saying, or
Yeah, so basically it's even like one step better than that though, because it's like they talk about having a baby and then they're like, oh, maybe we should, and then Jay says adopt. And then it's like, because we don't know if that would work. I forget which one of them says it, but I think it was Vraska that says, if it did, we would know by now. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, damn.
damn,
Like they've been getting
they
freaky.
fuck, buddy, they
Yeah.
fuck.
And it just nothing's happened. So,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Like
That's
at first
like,
I was like, they haven't even tried it. They don't even know how the mechanics of that would. And then when that line came, I was like, oh no, that's not what's happening
yeah,
here. Like,
yeah. I think we would know by now. That means like they are raw dogging an Ixalan like
yeah.
nobody's business, and um, just sick. So it just means they're incompatible in that sense. But damn, get it, guys.
Yeah, go
Get
for it. Yeah.
fucking. I'm here for it, but yeah, they definitely fuck. Anyway,
It's all there's just too many jokes about her turning him to stone that I won't even bother. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. She doesn't even need to because it
yeah.
all everything functions correctly. It seems like.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
never know. Could be an
uh,
illusion.
that's true. I don't know how lifelike his illusions feel, I guess, but
Yeah.
don't really want to find out. So anyway, they meet their Digimon baby. They try to talk to it. It speaks a completely different language. They're like, "Oh fuck, what?" Like as if a Digimon is going to talk your language. Come on. So
Yeah, I know. It's
Jace,
just like, whoa, it doesn't speak English? That's weird.
yeah,
Like,
that's weird.
is it weird, Jace?
It doesn't seem that weird to me. It's been locked up in a vault forever.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, Jace asks, "Hey, can I read your mind?" And then the baby's just like, "What?" And then Jace is like, "Okay," and
I
goes,
take that as consent.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
I will read your mind." We find out that its name is Lute. His name is Lute. We know that it's a he because Tamio told us before, apparently.
Yeah. It's
Um,
in the nursery rhyme that she gave to Jace.
right. Then Vraska ends up making a joke at some point about iced coffee or cold coffee that they have on Tarkir. And Jason's
Yeah.
like, damn, that sounds so nice. And so then he fucking planes walks away, grabs some and some snacks, and comes back with it 20 minutes later.
It's a real
This is
dad move.
not just, well, yeah, real dad move, but I was gonna say real fucking awesome buddy move. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, we ran out of beers. Could you go get us some more from
Yeah.
All Time
I
in
hear
like
they
a
have the best beer on this
yeah.
plane.
And he's like, I'll be right back. 20
Yeah.
minutes later, fucking huge beer run. Thanks,
Yeah.
man. Freezing cold on the ice planet.
Yeah,
Fucking
champion
sweet,
mode.
buddy. I want some of that ale they have in Starnheim. Could you get that for me? Oh yeah, I'll
Yeah.
be right back. Yeah, come on. Awesome. So jealous of Vraska at this moment, being like, I want someone to go get me things for free.
Yeah. She was like upset about losing her spark, but this is like, if I could go, I would.
I
But
would, but I have to stay with the Digimon baby.
yeah.
Um, and they have their first family meal together. It's very cute.
Yes, which
Um,
is iced or cold brew, it sounds like.
yeah, cold
And
brew with whipped cream
yeah.
and some other sorts of snacks. Probably, I'm assuming some sort of pickled fish,
Yeah,
uh,
so it's got to be pickled fish.
because the Digimon, obviously.
Yeah.
Also, while Jace was inside of Lute's mind, he saw a map to all of the multiverse and every single omen path ever.
Yeah.
And so they have the perfect roadmap to do whatever the fuck they
And
want.
it's updating. So we talked
Yeah.
about the omen paths are not just like a constant bridge between two places, but they're shifting. And in Lute's brain, it's also shifting. So you just
Hmm.
have a totally up-to-date map all the time that's moving. Uh, which I guess was part of their plan. Because so they go through this whole thing of Jace and Vraska thinking basically like the world is shitty and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
reset it is sort of what they
Hmm.
essentially keep talking about. And Jace's mom used some phoenix feather or something that like burned away the bad and let them build anew.
Yeah. It like builds their organs again, basically.
Yeah, and like let your body start fresh without the memories of this Phyrexian bad. So they're like, we should apply that to the multiverse.
Hmm.
Apparently, getting this Digimon baby was part of that plan to start the multiverse anew. Um, but not obviously, it's not clear yet what their actual grand plan is. Um, but one thing I wanted to mention in terms of that is like when his mom says, "Oh, I developed this new way to rebuild organs or whatever." Jace is like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And she says, "What, you thought you were the only prodigy on Vryn?"
Hmm.
And I was like, sick reference to
Yeah.
the card Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I
Yeah.
liked that they threw that in there. Which is like, does the author know of that card? Did they do some research on their own time to go like
They
look it
so
up? Did Wizards
Al
tell them?
Allison specifically. So the writer of the epilogue, she wrote the original Ixalan story.
Okay.
Um, I think that was one of her first
Makes
stories.
sense to get her to write this one then, yeah.
Yeah, and so and that was one of the most successful Magic stories. Funnily enough, the set not so much, but the story actually was really good.
Yeah.
Um, and so she already knew all about all that stuff, and so she was able to drop those little fun hints. And
Yeah.
basically, there's a great podcast called Humans of Magic who did a recent interview with Allison. So the
Oh,
reason
nice.
I have made a big focus on how this is a different author is because I listen to a lot of that, and she talked about asking the design team like or whatever the story team being like, hey, can I go talk to Jace's mom? And they're like, fuck yeah, that sounds awesome. She's like, sick,
Yeah.
we're gonna go do that.
All right,
And
that's what
so
we'll do. Yeah.
she had pitched that idea. So um, having these great storytellers who are like working like I think this epilogue like sorry we can finish it before we get into our like closing thoughts but like um it does feel like this has more knowledge of what's happening than a lot of the epilogue specifically. Obviously we're touching a bunch of stuff, but it feels much more refined compared to a lot of the other stories we've heard, which seems like they're just kind of handed a dossier and they're just kind of trying to plug in some words that fit, that make sense.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a werewolf and some vampires, so let's make sure that we put that stuff in. Um, this one
Yeah, this epilogue
feels.
felt like this was well thought out ahead of time. There's references to a lot of old stuff and stuff that's coming together that you're like, okay, it could be you trying to capitalize on like a cool thing that you noticed and
Totally, which
let's
is
make
like half of epilogues sometimes,
yeah. But
where it's
it
like,
really does feel at least that this was pre-planned for a long time, given
Mhm.
a lot of the connections that are being made here.
Yeah, which I think is what Magic Story needs is more connecting ties that
Totally.
work as opposed to what we've had in the past where they kind of don't. So, um, good direction we're moving into for sure. But basically, yeah, like you were saying before, Vraska and Jace were in this place where they hated all the evil in the world and they wanted to get rid of it. And they thought that um, going and defeating all the evil people and the evil stuff in the world would help the world. And
Mhm.
now they're in a place where they kind of feel like they need to heal the world in different space,
Right.
bring more joy and love and hope, which will be better than eradicating the evil. Just doing similar things, but in a different frame set. And I think that is where they're heading off to with Loot, their new baby boy Digimon thing.
And
Um,
to reiterate, they had to get loot because they've been fucking and
they've
it's
been,
just not working.
yeah, they've been fucking real. They've been trying for a long time, and they
Yeah.
have not been having babies. So had to go get some loot.
Yeah. Had to go pick up their
Hmm.
Digimon.
Yeah, because they would have known. They would have known.
Yeah. It would be statistically impossible given the number of times that that
They
they
were
not make it
raw
work.
dogging it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I appreciated the inclusion of that line though, because I was
mhm.
like, they never do this in Magic Story. But it's like, okay, cool. Like,
Okay. It's also like, it's kind of there for people our age, who are
yeah,
like,
kids won't understand what that means. Like,
yeah,
and probably aren't reading this in the first place. But even if they were, like, they wouldn't understand that.
I
And
fully get it. Of like, we're in the age where you have a child, soon
yeah,
another child, and I
yeah,
don't, but think about that. So, like, it's more of like, yeah, how does this actually work? Is this going to be a thing? Can we do this? Is this possible? All those
right, yeah.
questions are like on your mind. So, um, yeah.
I've never thought to like go to a different plane and open some super secret vault and like
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Well,
sure I heard a
see,
baby in there 10 years ago, so let's go get that one.
well, Jeff, it worked out for you.
Yeah.
It just is working, but
Not everyone goes
well,
down the
who knows?
traditional path.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, me and my wife are gonna have to go to a vault and open it up and get a
Yeah.
Digimon baby, and then,
We're gonna have to
re-
trick a bunch of people into
yeah,
helping us do it.
I'm gonna have to put on some cosplay so people think I'm a,
Yeah.
a
A
different thing.
nightmare
Yeah.
weaver.
Uh,
Um, anyways, I thought this story was great. I was thinking about this because I read the final ones on the train. Like I've been reading them on the train to and from work,
mhm.
and I was reading the final ones because I wanted to save the epilogues because I remember you telling me that there's a lot of positive reviews of the epilogue. So I read those today. Um, and I was thinking about it afterwards on the train. And I was like, I think this, of all the ones we've done on the show for sure, this is the best one. The
Mhm.
Outlaws of Thunder Junction storyline. Um, it's a little maybe unfair because it's kind of a culminating like end of the arc one, so you get that satisfaction of a lot of closed
Yeah.
loops. But even just the main one, I really liked it because it was a lot more linear in the past. It's not jumping to random events all the time and then trying to bring them together, but never actually doing it. And like a lot of the events just don't matter. Like this is really just there's a heist team and they're
Mhm.
going through the
Doing the thing.
heist.
It's not like in this arc. So this is the end of this arc for Kellen, right?
The
We're moving
Kellen
on.
arc. Yeah.
We're on like basically we're on like a 3-year arc, but this is the first chunk of it.
Right. I
Um,
assume the next one is like the Jace's the Jace's plan arc or something. I don't know.
I
But
don't know. I know we're going to Bloomborough and he's like a fox or something, but I don't know if
yeah.
he's actually well, all that. I don't know if he's actually there or not, or I don't really know for sure. But anyway, things do change as we're going out. The other thing is like, is Vryn going to be part of the death race set because there's mage rings and those are seem
Right.
like the cool things to drive
Which people
through.
were already guessing before all
Asking,
of this.
but
Yeah.
now we go to Vryn, so like, oh, that would be perfect. Um, but I 100% agree with you that this is the best story we've ever read, and
Mhm.
it all makes sense and fits together really nicely.
It was well written. It was like
Hmm.
funny, and it was
To the
clear what was
point,
happening all the time. Which it sounds like a weird compliment, but if you've read these magic stories, like clear what was happening all the time
yeah,
is not.
mhm.
It's not a given.
Yeah. Even the Jace stuff in his mind thing in the epilogue, I think I was never really confused whether it was actually happening or not. Like they
Yeah.
didn't like because we were going back in time and it wasn't new experiences. I knew that he didn't move places or whatever. And then when he did,
Right.
I was like, okay, I know we're in a different place. But sometimes the flowery language can be confusing in fantasy, and this was done very well.
Mhm.
Um, and also, no, I think, saying that this is the culmination of a big story, yeah, it was the culmination of a year, and I think this is the best way to do it, where the story is small enough that we can actually have a through line that feels strong. Because the March of the Machine story was a lot of stuff happening, and it was like our favorite one of that whole arc was the team drilling down into the core, and Obi-Wan fit the best because we're kind of going through levels, and it felt like it had like a linear line where I feel like sometimes there's just so much shit happening that it
Yeah.
gets all over the place. So that's why I was really worried when there were so many characters in the team. I was like, oh no, is this going to be just a shit storm? And then
Yeah.
they ended up being able to pull it together, being like, sometimes we just leave people out, and that's okay.
Yeah. Some people just aren't here for this. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
And like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And hey, this thing has to happen, but you don't have to be there for it. It doesn't matter. And we're
Yeah.
like, thank you for saying that. Like, I
Right.
really appreciate that you understand what matters and what doesn't. And the people that want to read those side stories can go do that, but not everybody has
Yeah.
to. So, all in all, fantastic. Like, probably the best one ever.
Yeah. I think so. The best one I've read for sure.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't just like eking out another top competitor. This one just
Hmm.
felt like it was on a different level
Hmm.
than the previous ones.
Absolutely. 100% agree. I may not feel the same way about the beer this evening. Jeff, let's go to our
Oh
last
dear
call.
God.
Let's
Yeah.
finally talk about the beer. We are talking about
Yeah,
this
yeah.
jalapeno and lime kettle sour that we had tonight. 3.5%. I do want to say, as we get to this, Sada City is a brewery that I do enjoy, though, as we've done a tap takeover, they can be much more hit and miss than I originally thought.
Yeah, we had some good ones the first time. We're like, these guys
Hmm.
are just great. And now I think of them as like they make a lot of different beers that are for a lot
Hmm.
of different people. And the ones that I like are really, really good, but then they
Yeah,
make a lot that for me are total
are
misses.
so
Yeah.
misses.
Yeah,
3.5% in a beer is actually something I think I'm more interested in now as I get older, being like, I
for
would
sure.
love to have a beer that I can drink like three or four and not be just drunk.
Yeah, I never got those, when I was younger, and now I'm just like, that's ideal. You can have a couple of them and feel fine and
Hmm.
not be put on your ass.
Yeah, and
But
be able to like take care of your kids or like cook
yeah,
dinner or whatever.
not
And
have your
like,
sleep be totally ruined.
exactly, not
Yeah,
wake up in the morning being like, fucking hell, I had too many last night. So I'm happy with that. Jeff, I can
that's
I can start us off with the jalapeno-ness of this beer.
okay. Take it away.
It is definitely jalapeno-y. The peppers are there. Um, so it's not it delivers on it.
Yeah,
Um, it kind of reminds me of this. I had a green chili beer once that I kind of liked, but I think that one was superior to this one. That one did have the spiciness of like how like the green chilies, but wasn't trying to. It just had a little bit of something going on. In the end, it was basically a lager with like a little bit of spice.
yeah.
This one felt like there's so many weird things happening. And if you listen to the beginning of the episode, you can tell what we thought about it. Um,
Yeah, like I have never had a beer that has jalapenos or any sort of chili in it that I like, and this didn't change my mind. It definitely has jalapeno flavor. Some of them are back your throat kind of spicy, and then because
Hmm.
beer spreads spice, it's just like a weird feeling. This one wasn't that at least,
Mm-mm.
but it was just like I just don't want this jalapeno flavor there. Like
Hmm.
if this was just a light beer with lime, I don't know, that's more classic kind of combo. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't feel like the underlying beer is that good. I don't like the addition of the jalapeno. I don't know. This was silver to me because I drank the whole thing, so I'm not allowed to give it bronze. Kind of, but
I know.
yeah,
I,
didn't like
Jeff,
it.
you can give it bronze. You can give it bronze. We drank the whole thing, but you can give it bronze. I am okay with that because you're never
It's
going to drink this
bronze.
again.
It's
You were
bronze.
never going to drink
I did
this.
not like it at all, but I did drink it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that because I'm also going to give it bronze. Like, I'm not going to drink this again. I will
No,
tell people specifically not to get it. Like
yeah, and I'm sure
this.
there are people out there that like this, like, and that's cool. But this is not what I want out of a beer.
Yeah.
Um,
Even the people that think that they want it, they don't want it. Like, just,
yeah,
and anyone who's saying that they do, you're kidding yourselves. Honestly, like spicy drinks that like you have there's like two things that you can get with spicy drinks, which is basically like a spicy Caesar, which is basically like a meal, and then a spicy margarita. Those are kind of the only things you can get. Besides
hmm
that, and those are both cocktails. So like beers, wines. If somebody gave you a spicy wine,
Oof.
what are we doing? Like, we just don't need it. Drinks are supposed to do the opposite. Like, you're supposed to have spicy food and then you can drink something to cool it off.
It's just
We
it doesn't work. Does
With that being said, I would drink another one in a heartbeat and I would force Jeff to drink another one
Oh
any
dear
day of the
God.
week. So I'm so happy that we forced Jeff to drink this.
It's this
I
like self-destructive, like, yeah, I'm going down, but I'll take you with me kind of
absolutely
mentality.
it
Yeah.
is. No, because I know that I don't hate it as much as you do. So it's
Yeah.
so fun to watch you squirm. But this is bronze. This is a terrible beer. You should not drink this.
It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I took one sip and I was like, oh boy. This
I will say, once I started to drink it a little bit more, it wasn't as funky and it gave a little bit more of a sourness to it. But I think I was also kind of focused on doing this show. So,
Yeah, and your palate does open up and I was like, okay,
yeah.
let's give it that option. I take the first sip. It's terrible. Let's let the
Hmm.
palate open up, adjust to these flavors and try it again. And I just never got to that point where I was enjoying it. I
Yeah.
got to that point where it was tolerable. So if it like starts bad and ends up tolerable, I don't know, to me that's bronze. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to put it down and crack my other beer
You're
really
right. I
early,
was like, I have this other one. Let me just
but
drink that one.
then I had the glass and I was like, well, it's already in the glass. But if it
Yeah,
was
well,
still in the can, I would have
for
stopped
sure.
it. But
Yeah. The glass saved it.
yeah. And if we weren't on the show sitting here, I would have just dumped it out and grabbed a different one. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. I'm fine with giving it bronze. I was expecting a bronze from tonight, but it was fun. That was always fun. I'm down to try literally anything. So,
Yeah, I'm always down to try it.
mhm.
I might
But
complain a little bit.
a little bit. Anyway, Jeff, this has been a long episode. Let's get to the
Yeah,
end of
way
it.
too long.
It is closing time. You can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
You can find us on Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That's Zulberg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is our Discord channel. You want to chat about jalapeno beers that are actually good. You want to chat about Outlaws of Thunder Junction story, predictions for Jace and Vraska's master plan, or just post any deck lists, anything like that. That's the best place to do it. Link for that is in the show notes. I go by regular Jeff on the Discord channel.
Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, leave us a review there, and give us a comment on YouTube, all that fun stuff. But most of all, please let your friends know that you like our podcast. That helps out the most. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that jalapenos are great and beer is great, But there's just no reason they have to be together. It's just not how things work.
Good night. All right, that's fine.